We're live. Are we live? Are we live? Yes, we are. All right, let's get it.
K the boss, K the boss, K the boss, K the boss. K the boss, K the boss, K the boss, K the boss. K the boss, K the boss, K the boss. K the boss.
Oh, come on, man. Not with this beat. No. Why, StreamYard? Why, StreamYard? StreamYard been messing up all night. Can't see my countdown no more. What you doing, StreamYards, dog? I'm counting on y'all. What's happening? Are we back? All right, let's see if this fixes it. I'm going to just run it back, man, because this is crazy. This is nutty. And the time of my computer is wrong for some reason. Maybe that's why I can't see my countdown.
K the boss, K the boss, K the K the boss, K the boss, K the boss, K the boss. K the boss, K the boss, K the boss. K the boss, K the boss, K the boss, K the boss. K the boss, K the boss, K the boss, K the boss. K the boss, K the boss, K the boss, K the boss, K the boss.
Here's a fun one. Guys, pretend like you're holding up the building behind you.
Let's not. Let's not. What up, everybody? Thank you guys for being here. Make sure you hit that like button. How y'all like that beat, man? I like that beat. That beat's dope. Like it takes me back. Like that beat makes me feel like I'm in high school again and I can still rap. I even wrote 8 bars to it. Just off of that first 8 bars of the beat. Like that shit ride. I like that. I like that. And if y'all put enough on the Cash App, I might give y'all a freestyle or something. Cause I like that beat. Y'all ain't know I could rap, did y'all? Well, if you've been following me for a while and watch some of my old shows, if you're new to the channel, then you probably heard a couple of my songs. But I've been writing some new stuff because B Miles just put out his album, so I'm definitely inspired. And he even offered me a feature on his second album. So I think that's pretty cool. And I also wanted to help him do some marketing for his album that's out right now. Every time I talk to him, and I got his number too, and every time I talk to him, I forget to mention that. But I'm gonna get with him about that. If he's watching, B Miles, I got something in the works for you, brother. And I don't know if you guys noticed, but in my description box, there's a link to my Bonfire t-shirt store. And if you go look at the t-shirts, there's some t-shirts, some designs that I had from like years ago. The last sale that I made was 2021. That's how long it's been since I've even touched that store, right? And if you look at it, if you look in there, you'll see Julian Brown. I'm thinking about making a Julian Brown t-shirt, but I don't want to use his likeness without his permission. So I actually have a contract written out. And if anybody has a way to contact Julian, like an email or something, um, let me know so I can send him my proposal. And if he disagrees, then I'll just go ahead and delete the design or maybe sell him the design and let him do the whole marketing and selling of the shirts or whatnot. But what I really wanted to do was a 50-50 deal where, because he's got a much bigger following than me and his people will buy his merch. You know what I'm saying? So I was going to have him market it on his channel and buy it out of my store. You know what I'm saying? But it is what it is. There's ways to make shit happen and work it out. Cause I figured, since my channel is still in the growth phase, and I do have, since I've been on YouTube for so long and had so many channels, I do have a lot of connections and a lot of people I can call to set up, marketing and stuff. I just didn't really have the money to really invest in it because I was tying my money up in other investments outside of the internet. And just like I fumbled with Rumble, I fumbled Rumble. Yes, it rhymes. That I don't know. That beat just makes you want to rhyme. Everything you say, you just make you want to rhyme because the beat's so hard. But anyway, people were telling me, excuse me, people were telling me back in 2020 when I lost my first channel to get on Rumble. And had I done that when my YouTube channel blew up in 2021, my Rumble channel would have blown up right with it. And I would upload a little bit here and there, but I never really. And back then, Rumble didn't have the live. That's why I didn't get on Rumble, because my live shows were so long that to download the whole show and then upload it to Rumble took like a freaking day and a half. So I didn't think to screen record clips and put clips up there, and which is what I probably should have been doing, and then promoting that on the big YouTube channel. But it is what it is. I finally made the transition over to Rumble a couple of years ago after losing my 15th channel, and YouTube actually did something that scared the bejesus out of me. I did nothing to violate their terms, their rules, and their community guidelines, because I'd been censored so many times. Like I literally watched them move the goalposts and deem stuff unworthy for their platform that, well, the year prior was perfectly fine, right? And so after learning how they move the goalposts and learning how to move, I did just that. And one day I did a stream, because this was back when Biden had stole the election, and there was a lot of conservatives being misguided, talking about civil war and all this shit, like taking up arms against the left and all that. And I did a whole stream trying to explain to people that this is not a war in the conventional sense. This is a war of information. Whatever people believe is the way they're going to go, right? So our job is to just continue getting the word out and wake as many people up as we can, so we can actually win this fight in the political realm. That's what it's about. And I literally did a whole stream advocating against violence, and YouTube flagged me for glorifying violence. So once they did that and they were willing to lie, go to that length to lie, I was like, man, it's a wrap for this shit. I'm not gonna survive on YouTube anymore. And that's when I made the transition over to Rumble. And by then, Rumble had the live streaming capabilities, and thus I was able to simulcast. But with all the censorship and the shadow banning, I really have had a pretty difficult time getting my channels to grow. So I do need the help of the people, because without you guys, we can't do it. So if you got the option to hype the videos, watch my uploads, because I do uploads on nights when I don't go live. You know what I'm saying? And when you're here watching the live, share the live, hit the like button. You know, we got 24 watching and 16 likes. You know what I'm saying? If we want to build the numbers up, you got to hit the like button at the very least, But the share button helps a million. Share it. You can share it to Facebook, Instagram, freaking on your YouTube channel, on your YouTube page, whatever. You know what I'm saying? If you got an email list, share it to the people on your email list, whatever, you know. And you Christian conservatives, man, y'all got to really get y'all heads in the game and get out of this being proper shit. For real. For real. And I mean that. And what I mean by get out of this being proper shit is sometimes, you see, here's the thing. Here's what I believe, right? God has equipped us with we're beings of duality, right? We have a dark side and we have a light side. We have a good side and we have a bad side. We have a peaceful side and a violent side. And even in the Bible, it says there's a time for peace and there's a time for war. Well, guess what? When you have crazy liberals invading churches, just like they did when they wore white hoods, right? That's time for war, because now you're encroaching on sacred ground. You're encroaching on a place that's recognized by damn near everybody in the world as a place of peace, that's removed from all the stuff going on outside in the streets. And you bring that garbage into the house of worship. That's when it's time for war. That's why they didn't go do that to no black church, because them brothers would have got together, whether they were Democrats or Republicans, all that shit would have went out the window. They would have got together and they would have hit them with the Geno Jennings, with the usher him out, usher him out, usher him out. That's what they would have hit him with. And by that, I mean violently, because that was an absolute disgrace. But the thing is, a lot of these, Tatrice got that one. Tatrice got it. But you see, a lot of these Christian conservatives, they think this whole turn the other cheek thing means, you know, just let them keep whooping you. First, they slap one cheek on your face, then you turn the other cheek on your face, and they slap that. What happens when you run out of cheeks on your face? Well, you got two more. So guess what you're going to wind up doing? Bending over and taking it. But that's where you're supposed to flip that switch and go dark, because some people don't understand anything other than force. And you cannot be weak with these people. They're not weak with you. You know what I'm saying? So we got to get out of this mentality that, you know, somehow defending ourselves is wrong and defending sacred ground is wrong. Because you know what? If them people in that church would have got together and jumped them liberals, those liberals would have got in trouble. The people in the church would have been fine, because they're in their house of worship. Those other people that barged in have no reason to be there other than to cause trouble. So they came looking for trouble and they found it. It's the same thing with these mass shooters that run up in, you know, that used to run up into churches and shoot up the church. You know what I'm saying? What happened? The ushers started bringing their pistols. And guess what happened? That church shooting shit stopped pretty quick, didn't it? Uh-huh. And certain places where people understand this, you don't see those kinds of things happening, because those people are not weak. Yes, they love God. Yes, they read their Bibles. Yes, they're good, righteous people, but they'll pop your top if you force them to. And that's the way it's supposed to be. In fact, and this is no advocating of violence, so I don't want anybody to misunderstand what I'm saying, But the reason why mutual respect exists amongst men, like you're not just gonna, as a man, not to just walk up to any random man on the street and say something disrespectful to him. Why? Because in the back of your mind as a man, you might get hurt. You might get physically injured by this person. This person might become violent with you. So it's the underlying threat of violence that fuels mutual respect amongst men. But when a man feels like he can get over on the other man and the other man ain't going to do nothing cuz he's harmless, what happens? The disrespect comes. That's what you call a bully. And what those people did to that church, they bullied those church people because they knew those church people were nice, kind-hearted people, and they weren't gonna physically do anything to them, physically remove them. But you can't be like that. You gotta let. Sometimes you just gotta let somebody know. Let a motherfucker know. Hey, I am not the one, and today is not the day. And you know what's happening with ICE? That's exactly what ICE is getting to. That's the point ICE is getting to right now. But that's what those agitators want to do. They want to get ICE to the point where they all go out every day like, I am not the one, and today is not the day. So one of them could do something stupid and they could use it to demonize the whole mission. All in an effort to keep the freaking illegals here. In some cities, these protesters are allowed to go block the streets, and drivers in whole 2,000-pound vehicles are afraid to run through the crowd because in those liberal cities, they'll go to jail. So they're scared. You know what you do? You cover up your license, you back up, you cover up your license plate, and then you floor it. That's what you do. Because the only way they'll identify you is with your license plate. So you cover that shit up so they can take all the damn pictures they want and you go bowling. But in other states, you don't see protesters out blocking the street like that. Because in all 50 states, that is a crime. In most states, it's a misdemeanor known as impeding traffic. And the reason why that's a misdemeanor is because it's a public roadway, and the public roadway is designated for motor vehicles. And then there's a public sidewalk, which is designated for foot traffic. So if you want to peacefully protest, you can take up the whole sidewalk and stay as long as you stay out of the street. And that's the way it's handled in most sensible states. And wherever the protesters get out of line and decide to block the streets, if they get ran over, it's on them. Or if somebody is kind enough to stop and calls the police will come and remove them from the street. It's no longer a lawful assembly. That's why in a lot of these places where you see these big protests, you see the police come out and start, shooting people with pepper balls and tear gas and shit, and then everybody plays victim. No, it's not a lawful assembly because you're blocking traffic, you're impeding traffic, you're committing a misdemeanor, and you're lucky you're not all getting rounded up in the paddy wagon. Just get out the damn street. Because blocking traffic causes issues with emergencies, where if there's an emergency vehicle trying to get through and there's a whole line of traffic because these greenie weenies decided they want to glue their hand to the fucking road, which actually did happen, that person in that ambulance that is in urgent need of medical care may not get that medical care. Now somebody dies because of your feelings. Or let's say somebody reported a crime and they're under assault and the police officer is rushing to the scene, but the people are blocking traffic. That's why it's unacceptable. But in these liberal cities, they don't care about the law and they don't enforce the law. That's why you see all these videos of innocent people getting stopped. Do you know it's also a crime to impede someone's freedom of movement? It's called false imprisonment. And that is actually a felony, and it's considered a violent felony, by the way, because it involves direct victimization of another person by way of threat or intimidation. So when you see those videos of innocent people trying to cross the street and these dumbass leftards decide to get in front of them, they're committing a crime. They should immediately be arrested. Felony charges immediately. But the police just stand there and they let it happen. And if that person who's having their freedom of movement impeded and is being falsely imprisoned by this now violent felon if they then put their hands on that person to remove them, then the cops are going to go jump on the person. So they got the law all ass backwards. But this is typical Democrat mentality. They make up the rule. This is the doest thou wilt in the political realm. They make up the rules as they go, and the rules that already exist, if they're inconvenient, they ignore them. The biggest one being the immigration laws. When they opened up the border, they literally violated immigration laws by opening the border. And had they not opened the border, we would not be in this mess where ICE is out there having to run around snatching people now. And what's making things so bad in Minnesota and Minneapolis and all these other liberal cities is these idiot protesters that are going out and supporting these illegal aliens. Why would you support foreign nationals that invaded your country and are soaking up all the welfare? Now poor Americans can't get nothing. Then on top of that, you got the thieving ass politicians that are stealing the money. So even all the money that's supposed to go to the illegals still don't get to the illegals. And they put them in line in front of poor Americans that need this welfare, that need it. And the majority of the neighborhoods that these illegals are taking over and displacing the residents are black neighborhoods. And to see black people talk about ICE like they're a problem, like it's mind-blowing. It's mind-blowing. It is mind-blowing. It's like it's literally advocating against your own interests. Because here's the thing. A lot of black people see the government as the enemy. And fair enough, because the government has not been fair to black people throughout the history of this country, and I can understand the sentiments, right? But here's the thing. Even if the government is your enemy, guess who's a bigger enemy? Those damn illegals are a bigger enemy and a bigger threat. Because they came here to make friends with the government and rule over your ass. Buy your house and put you out and rent it to their own people. Set up businesses and submit bids for contracts that are way cheaper than yours, than your bids. Put you out of business. And a lot of that was happening. A lot of that shit was going on, and it probably still is. So they were a bigger threat. They were a more direct threat. And to advocate against the government by default is to advocate for these foreigners being here. And not even advocate against the government, advocate against ICE, because it's ICE's job to remove them. So ICE would be the entity. And even if you see ICE as an enemy, which is absolutely stupid, because ICE's job is to identify people who don't have legal status in the United States, which unfortunately also involves identifying people who do have legal status in the United States if they're unsure. But literally, you know how the protocol goes. You see all these people getting fucked up by ICE, and I'm an American citizen, and they're getting hauled away in handcuffs. ICE didn't just go grab them because they thought they were illegal. The process goes like this. They ask you for your name and your date of birth. They go back to their truck, or they call it in on the radio, give the name and the date of birth, and then if it comes back that you have legal status, they let you go. It's literally that simple. Literally that simple. But you see, these idiots out there, they're falling for the propaganda and believing these agitators, and they're getting themselves in situations where the hostility escalates in those situations. They don't realize that, hey, this is a quick and easy way to diffuse this. Yes, it's a violation of my rights, but I can't fight these armed individuals on the street right now, or else they'll mess me up pretty bad. And this is why these people are getting fucked up and getting dragged away. So when you hear about ICE arresting American citizens, those are the American citizens that are getting arrested. And for the rest of the stories, all you hear is American citizens getting detained. And the reason why they're getting detained is because they're refusing to identify themselves. You see, the federal government has agencies that have been granted powers beyond what the Constitution permits. That I agree with, because no government agent should be able to walk up to you and ask you to identify yourself. And I totally agree with that. But here's the problem. Our country for the last 4 years was ran by obvious foreign infiltrators. And these foreign infiltrators opened up our country to a flood of millions of foreign nationals, many of whom pose a direct threat to the American public. And considering the fact that we are in a declared state of war, the president has used his wartime powers to deploy federal troops, which would be ICE, this massive expansion of ICE, federal troops to American cities in order to remove these foreign nationals, starting with the ones who do pose a threat, meaning the criminal aliens. But aliens are being swept up too because they too are in violation of the law. But this big push from the media to get black people to side with these illegal aliens by denouncing ICE, it's all propaganda from the same political establishment that many of these woke black folks claim to be against. Like, and I hate to say it, I try to give them the benefit of the doubt, but this is some real like COINTELPRO shit. Sanchez did a whole stream today with Synetter talking about how bad ICE was, and basically trying to create fear amongst black people of ICE and a police state. Like we haven't been living in a fucking police state our whole lives. Like from the time they started putting cameras on the damn traffic lights, like it was a wrap after that. You can't go nowhere without being seen. You know what I mean? But what ICE is doing, if ICE is your enemy, the illegals are a bigger enemy. So this is a classic case of the enemy of my enemy is my friend. So if you have two groups of individuals out there who you feel are a direct enemy and threat to your people, but they're at war with each other, why the fuck would you pick a side? You let one destroy the other. So that way you only have one to deal with. But when you side against ICE, you're siding with the illegals. And when you side with ICE, you're siding against the illegals, which is actually in your best interest because at least the government has rules that they have to play by. And if you learn those rules, you can beat them, you can get over on them. But you see, these agitators and these agents, they don't want you to beat the government. They want the government to stay in control of you. So what they do is they tell you how bad ICE is and tell you how much of a threat ICE is, and we need to advocate against ICE. And you know what's going to happen? A lot of those people that hear that propaganda, when they see these foreign agent Democrats proposing bills like that Indian dude, Sri Thanadar, to abolish ICE, they'll be in favor of it. Completely lacking the understanding that there's an entire class of people who had just recently been brought into America. They don't even speak your language, but they're being financed and funded, and they're being propped up and put in line in front of you. They're getting first dibs on the housing. They're getting first dibs, and they're getting larger amounts on the food stamps and on the cash assistance. And this is all coming out of tax money that you pay for, you and every other American. So to advocate for anything that would favor these illegals being in this country or remaining in this country is literally advocating against what's in the best interest of your country. So you're okay paying taxes to the government to keep giving all the money to these illegals because you're so mad at ICE. And if people can't see how ass backwards that is, because once ICE gets rid of the illegals, all we'll have to deal with is the same old government we've been dealing with since God knows when. I think that's a much easier fight than foreign nationals that don't speak our language and have obviously demonstrated a propensity to murder us. Not only that, it's also suspected that, well, not suspected, but confirmed, I should say, that there are groups here that are in possession of very, very high powered weapons similar to the ones used in mass killings in third world countries. And what scares me is this big push from the media to get all these people out in the streets to protest ICE. Because what we just witnessed in Iran with the protests being shot up by terrorist sleeper cells, killing thousands of people, and then the media blames it on the Iranian government when the Iranian government were the ones that stopped the terrorists, right? I see them trying to pull the same thing here. And what's the saddest part about it is these same people that are protesting ICE are the same ones that are going to be victims to these sleeper cells because they'll be the ones in the streets. And that's why it's even more imperative that you sit this shit out. Because here's the plan. This big propaganda push to demonize ICE and demonize, even though so-called truth tellers got to get on the internet and make themselves look goofy. Look like goofy ass Democrats when they're supposed to have all this deep knowledge, right? That's the first thing, because you got to make it believable, right? Then you garner more support to get more people out in the streets. And when you get enough people out in the streets in enough cities, boom, the illegal aliens that are in possession of these high-powered weapons and have stash houses throughout these cities and to, within their groups to carry it out, they'll take to the streets, probably wearing military uniforms, and start mowing people down. And the media is going to report that the Trump administration and ICE is killing innocent Americans. Why do you think they're hyping the Renee Good thing so much? They're trying to create this image in people's heads that these government agencies are going to come out in the streets because of Trump, and he's going to kill all the black people and the brown people and all the good white people advocating for the black people and the brown people. And I believe they're trying to get the black people out in the streets the most right now, because you see, they weren't really playing the black card in the beginning of all these protests, right? Now, in the last couple of weeks, they've been playing that shit like it's the only card they got, because I believe they want to get black people out in the streets so these sleeper cells can target the black people specifically. Because remember, their whole narrative is what? Trump's a racist, right? The ICE is made up of Proud Boys and white supremacists, right? That's the whole their whole talking point. So what better way to prove it than to have a bunch of black people go out in opposition to these government agencies and individuals who appear to be members of these government agencies committing atrocities against them. They're trying to use the black people as the sacrificial lambs. And these same dumbasses that are protesting against ICE is actually going after these individuals who are in possession of these weapons, possession of the funding, and have these networks set up all throughout these cities, ready and waiting. So these people are out in the streets literally falling right into a trap where they could possibly lose their lives at the hands of the very same people that they're advocating for. And that is scary, to say the least. And this is why it's important to spread the message, especially to black people, not to advocate for these fucking illegals. Stay your ass in the house. Do not go out there and join those people. And if you make contact with ICE, identify yourself so it can be quick and painless and you can go about your day. All this bullshit about, I have to bring my passport with me. No, you just have to remember your name and your date of birth. You think the feds can't look you up off of that? Don't be stupid. I seen this one video. And shout out to Hassan Campbell, because I like what Hassan does. He plays both sides of the argument, right? And lets people decide for themselves. And I think that's pretty fair. Even though he has his own opinion that I don't necessarily agree with, I can appreciate the fact that at least he lets both sides be heard. He don't play that agent game where you only tell one side of the story. And I think that's pretty cool. In fact, I was talking with him and we were planning on doing a one-on-one because he was talking about survival and prepping and all that stuff. And I think that's probably a good thing to start getting people back into again, because we kind of got comfortable. But nevertheless, he played this video from this one guy and he was saying, oh, when if ICE stops you or whatever, don't go to location 2. And he was saying, don't let them take you to location 2 because people go with the feds and they disappear and they never come back and there's no word of where I'm at. And this is a whole American man, born American citizen. Like, do you not understand what ICE's job is? I don't think these people do. ICE does not have the authority to disappear Americans. Even they don't even have the authority to arrest Americans and take them into custody. They can arrest them and detain them, but they have to hand them over to civilian authorities, the FBI or Homeland Security. ICE can only render foreign nationals without legal status in the United States to holding facilities where they're processed for deportation. So if you are an American citizen, whether you're a legal immigrant that has a green card or a passport, or you are a born American citizen that was born here and has birthright citizenship, ICE can't touch you. As long as they know you are an American citizen, they can't touch you. The only way that they can arrest you and render you to civilian authorities is if you impede them. So stay the fuck out of their way because they're not looking for you. Tell them who the fuck you are because they're not looking for you. It's literally that simple. Yes, your constitutional rights are being trampled because our fucking trampled and the country got invaded. We're literally a nation under foreign occupation. You understand what the fuck that means? Do you really understand what that means? I don't think people understand what that means. And this foreign occupation poses a much bigger threat to the American people than the American government. But before I start ranting, I'm going to say this. Anybody that's telling you that ICE is bad, be careful of listening to them and taking advice from them. Any American that's telling you ICE is bad is in favor of all the fraud that the illegals been committing. They're siding with the same dirty Democrats that want to turn your sons into daughters and your daughters into sons and make up 1,000 different genders and push homosexuality into public schools instead of actual education and tax you to the eyeballs and take all your money and give it to the illegal aliens. That's who you're siding with. You're siding with the very people who obviously don't give a shit about you and openly spit in your face. You're siding with the same people that promised you reparations but never gave it to you. But of these foreign nationals arriving on U.S. shores, arriving in U.S. across the U.S. border, within the U.S. border, they're getting thousands of dollars a month in taxpayer-funded government assistance. And you're going to advocate for these people? So be wary of those types of people because they're not your friend and they're not acting in your best interest. I mean, every once in a while, you'll see somebody that you support that you think knows it all or knows enough, siding with the mainstream media. But I give allowances for 2 or 3 mistakes. But when it becomes a consistent pattern, like that's when it's time to say, I don't know about that, bro. I don't know about that. I don't know about you either. You know? Because clearly there's a political agenda there, but it's being sold as if it's some sort of social freedom movement and we're supposed to be free of the government and we're supposed to be on our own and living off the land and all that bullshit. That's not a reality right now because humanity is not mentally capable of doing that. You take the average American right now and drop them in the jungle with nothing but a knife, they'll probably use that knife to kill themselves within 24 to 48 hours, especially when the sun goes down and those bugs come out. People are too comfortable, so they get to talk all this big and bad shit. That's what it is. People got too comfortable. So now now it's time for a little bit of that discomfort to right the ship. Because America will not survive. America will not survive because it's like, okay, There's no government. Boom, we defunded the police, everything. The left gets everything they want, right? Who's gonna hunt down the serial killer in the neighborhood when little kids start turning up missing? Who? Who's gonna put out the fire when your grandmother's house catches on fire? Oh, you'll just use the garden hose? Well, who's gonna be running the pump from the city reservoir to make sure that you do have water coming out of that hose? You see, people are too comfortable and they don't think about these little luxuries, and they never will until they lose, will get caught off guard and they don't prep. Feel what I'm saying? Don't listen to these fools, man. These fools don't know. They either don't know what they're talking about or they're taking a paycheck to deceive you. That's the only two things, because it literally makes no sense on any logical level for any American, especially a black American, to be mad at ICE. They're not kicking in black people's doors. Remember that. They're not hauling black people off. Remember that. And also remember to go follow me over on Rumble. Make sure you guys go follow the Rumble page. Help me get the numbers up. Support the show. Shout out to everybody watching, Bind, Divining Rod, and everybody else. Make sure you guys hit that thumbs up. All right. Also, follow me on the Citizen Man Backup channel on YouTube in case they zap me on Citizen Man TV. It's very important that you stay plugged in with me on YouTube, because if I can't communicate with you on this channel, I can at least make a video or put up a post on that channel so you guys can find me and know where I'm at. All right. So make sure you guys go subscribe to the backup channel. I barely have any content on there, but the channel is there. The link is in the description. Also, anybody who wish to support the show, you could do so by sending in a kind donation via Cash App, PayPal, or Venmo by using the tag scrolling across the screen in the banner below. The links that are pinned to the top of the YouTube chat in the black box where it says Citizen Man TV in yellow. Just click the yellow, the box opens up, and all the links are there. And you can also find those very same links in the description box on every video on YouTube and Rumble. I was doing good for a second there. Shout out to my brother Lee14224 for the PayPal. Shout out to my brother Shu for the Cash App. Shu hit me with the Cash App after the show the other night. So shout out to Shu for that. Salute to you. And let's get this thing started. Tonight's topic is military is the only way. Trap is set. Trap is set to demolish their agenda. Game over. Yeah, this is the end game. This is the lead up to the finale. And here's why. Everything that we're hearing now about the Somali fraud and all the welfare fraud that these illegals are committing and paying off these politicians to allow it happen, to allow it to happen. It's not just in Minnesota. It's not just in Minneapolis. That's just the canary in the coal mine to let us know that the well is poisoned all over the country. But here's the funny part. Everything that's happening now, it's simply public disclosure. Because Doge had done a complete audit of the entire federal government. And even though Elon Musk stepped down from being a special government employee, Doge is still operational. And these findings of this fraud has already been well known by the Trump administration. So now Trump's applying pressure. He's applying pressure because he's going now dealers down in South America that are supplying the folks up here. Shout out to D Allen for the Cash App. He says flat motherfucking power. Salute. Now that he's cut off the supply line from South and Central America, they're now strapped for cash up here. And once he cut off the supply line down there, they had to move manufacturing up here. By moving the manufacturing up here, they opened themselves up to be investigated, because now they have to buy property here. Now they have to buy machinery here. Now they have to move their money around here. You see what I'm saying? And because those same drug routes coming into the country were the routes they were using to move the cash out of the country. Remember that. And with that happening on one side, and then Doge looking at all the fraudulent legal stuff in the books on the other side, they're all getting caught. And now that they're all getting caught, the ICE raids are kicking up into high gear. And at the same time, the establishment is trying to push back by getting more people out in the streets to impede. and they were impeding because they thought that ICE was going to be soft like the city police and back down. They miscalculated. They did not know that they were fucking with the feds, and the feds got a whole different mindset when they come into these cities. And so now people are being arrested for impeding. And as more people get arrested for impeding, the protests are becoming more and more peaceful. Also, there's the threat of Trump declaring the Insurrection Act and deploying the military to Minnesota. But when the Insurrection Act is declared by the president, it does not apply to just one jurisdiction. Remember, that's the president. It applies to the entire country. And just because there's talk of an army unit being sent down to Minnesota or being sent up to Minnesota or out to Minnesota does not mean there are not other units prepped and ready to go. I'm talking nationwide sweep. And most of it we're probably not going to hear about in the news. But you know what you're going to start seeing when it happens? You're going to start seeing videos popping up on social media of people seeing Black Hawk helicopters flying around, and you'll start seeing trains with convoys of tanks and Humvees and MRAPs and shit on them. And you'll start seeing a lot of military movement in the streets. And it'll almost look like a martial law takeover. But they'll be there just moving smooth and going after their targets, and they'll be doing it quiet. And anybody that tries to organize and protest against them, Homeland Security is going to be right there, so no groups can gather and none of that shit that they're doing with ICE can go on. And everything's going to be done quietly, and we'll never hear a peep from those people ever again. That's how it's going to go. And people, you see, people are keeping their focus on Minnesota because that's all that's being talked about. But now we're hearing about the same schemes in Ohio and Tennessee and Massachusetts and Maine. And obviously it's going on in New York. So shit's about to get really real. And Trump sounded like he was backing off the Insurrection Act lately. He said, I'm not sure if I'm going to need it yet, but I have it if I need it. And you know what's crazy? Here's the thing that everybody, at least on the outside, is missing, but I don't think these politicians are missing it. And we'll get back to it when I get through the slideshow. The whole world just witnessed Trump capture a world leader. You think he can't capture freaking corrupt politicians in his own country? Just keep that thought in mind as we work our way through the show tonight. So they're trying to hype the Renee Good thing to make ICE look like these big bad killers. But the part of the story that they're not telling everybody is that these protesters and these illegals are collaborating with each other, and they're using strategies like using their cars to block ICE vehicles and also to ram ICE vehicles. Driver arrested after ramming ICE cars. They do this. This is part of their quote unquote training. This is what they do. So when that woman floored the gas pedal at that ICE agent and hit him in the chest with the front of the vehicle and he shot her, he was dealing with somebody who was trained to do this. And he was trained to do that. And that won. But of course, if they conveniently leave this part of the story out, then they can make the case that that woman was an innocent victim. But it's not working because these people are dumb. And there's so many of them around the country doing so much of this shit with their cars that it's kind of hard to now act as if what Renee Good was just random or she was afraid. Or now it looks more deliberate because there's a clear pattern of these groups of people engaging in that type of behavior. And there's also public literature where in their training manual, they describe using their vehicles. So this is obviously pre-planned, premeditated, coordinated, and organized. This is domestic terrorism because it's all for what? A political goal. And what is that political goal? Reshaping the entire demographic of the American society by integrating millions and millions of foreign nationals into our society and giving them a leg up over the Americans by funding them with taxpayer dollars. They're creating a new political class. Feds want to charge ICE shooting victim Renee Nicole Good's widow. So the fat dyke that was standing on the outside of the car taunting the ICE officer, she actually said, "Drive, baby, drive," which escalated the situation. And Renee then floored the ICE officer, popped her. So in that case, she should be charged with felony murder. That, if I was the prosecutor, that would be the charge. Now, felony murder means if a death occurs with either party, you did not kill that person, but somebody dies while you are in the commission of a felony, and somebody dies within that situation, you can be charged with that person's death. It's called felony murder. In most cases, it's applied. Let's say 3 or 4 people decides to go kick in somebody's door and commit a home invasion. The homeowner, armed and ready, shoots and kills one of them. The other 2 run away. Those 2 will be charged with with their homeboy's murder, and the charge will be felony murder because their homeboy died while they were all in the commission of a felony. That's the way that works. So now the next big question would be, well, citizen man, what felony was Nicole Good's widow committing? Well, the first felony would be impeding ICE. The second felony would be making terroristic threats, because she did make statements that were threatening, or could be interpreted as threats. So I would just tag that charge on there just to make something stick, make the first one stick, because her words are purely up to interpretation. But given the circumstances and the sentiments, clearly it's very easy to say that was a threat. And when she told Renee to drive, baby, drive, that can also be interpreted by a jury to mean she was incurred, because she saw the ICE officer in front of the vehicle. There's no way she couldn't. She was filming him and taunting him. And it's funny that they never really show the camera angle of the ICE officer getting hit up close, but I'm pretty sure there was one, because there were people all around. And Renee Good had her vehicle parked in the middle of the street, perpendicular, to deliberately block the street, doing what her training says. So Renee Good was in the commission of a felony. Her wife was with her. Impeding ICE is a felony. It's a federal charge. So you got impeding ICE, 2 counts, because for Renee impeding ICE and the wife saying drive, baby, drive, impeding ICE. And you have terroristic threats if you want to make it fun. So with that situation resulting in Renee's death, Renee's widow could very well be charged with felony murder. And I think she should be charged, because if she did not tell Renee to drive, if she would have told Renee, all right, get out the car, the jig is up, we're going to go to jail, but we'll get out this afternoon or whatever, none of that would have taken place. But she escalated the situation. Van Hollen, Democrat, says ICE agents are the ones breaking the law, not the peaceful protesters. These Democrats are straight up liars, and they will all get together and tell the same lie. And they know they have enough agents and talking heads on social media that will back them up, because they'll sit up there and act like they're telling you the truth and pretend as if ICE isn't a federal agency. And what really got to me was when Sanchez and Sinetta agreed that ICE was somehow Trump's creation. That alone should tell you they had no fucking idea what they were talking about, because ICE started in 2002 and it was created by George Bush, not Donald Trump. ICE has been here since 2002. ICE has been around for 24 years. And the fact that they didn't even know that ICE existed until now means that they have little to no knowledge of how our federal government is actually structured and what these agencies are and what they do. But they want to tell you to go to war with them, though. That's the ironic part. That's how you know they're not about nothing. But they lie. because ICE is not breaking the law. ICE is operating well within their rights. And ironically, it's these Democrats who are breaking the law because they're committing treason and sedition by advocating for these illegal aliens and encouraging people to go out and impede ICE. And when you have several politicians from several districts across the country engaging in actively advising their followers to commit a felony and impede law enforcement, you now have an insurrection. You now have politicians within your country that are trying to create a mutiny of some sort, that are trying to, it's almost like the beginning stages of a coup d'etat. Because if they get enough people in the streets and they get enough crazy people out there with guns and they're busy shooting it out with government forces, who's to say a small unit can't detach and go to Trump, go to Mar-a-Lago and try to get at Trump? That's how those coup d'etats happen. So at worst, they could be trying to pull one of those, but at best, I think they're just trying to solidify their political power by somehow clearing the way for these illegals to remain in the country, and then they'll continue legislatively trying to give these illegals the right to vote. Because as long as the illegals have the right to vote, these Democrats will always get elected because the illegals are not going to vote against their free money. That would be silly. Hey guys, make sure you hit the like button. We got 67 watching and 49 likes. Need y'all to hit that like button. We're not doing too good on the likes, and I don't like that. Let me see. Let me see if anything changed. Let me see if y'all listened. 48 now. Okay, 50. Okay, 50, that's it. But anyway, a group of liberal white women mostly have taken over a Target in St. Paul, demanding Target stop letting ICE and Border Patrol agents use their bathrooms. I kid you not. We live in freaking clown world. Yes. And all you anti-ICE people that somehow think ICE is some kind of big problem for American citizens, which means you're completely ignorant of how these agencies function. This is who you're siding with, just so you know. You're siding with crazy people because these people are crazy. Okay? Just keep that in mind. Every time you think about ICE and you get that grinding feeling like, "Oh, I hate Trump." Just remember who you're siding with: the homosexuals, the transgenders, the pedophiles, the the COVID shot, the clot shot lovers. That's who you're siding with because that's their mantra. Just remember that. Anti-ICE march crosses Brooklyn Bridge. So there's anti-ICE marches, and look at this: MLK to Renee, justice now. That's what their sign says. Why are they comparing Martin Luther King to that cracked out liberal white woman? That is insulting. That is insulting. And these people are so stupid, they don't even realize it. The insult just went completely over their heads. But at least they're actually peaceful because I haven't heard about no clashes with ICE up in New York yet. And I did see some footage of NYPD breaking up one of those protests where they were blocking the streets. Because you block the streets in Manhattan like that, you're looking for trouble. So it seems like the NYPD is actually stopping that shit. Maybe Mamdani sees what Trump is doing in Minnesota, and he don't want that beef in New York. So he's like, you know what? Get him out the street at least. But here's another spin on the narrative. Here's some more spin in how they spin the narrative. ICE activity impacts Minneapolis schools and community. Minneapolis is seeing increased ICE activity causing fear, school changes to online learning, and community efforts to help those afraid to leave home. Parents patrol schools, and a church delivers groceries to thousands of families. So it's ICE that's changing how society operates, or is it the people in the society that are changing how they operate? Are they all illegal aliens? Is it that many of them? Or is this Or is this the government conspiring with the illegal aliens to create a system where they're harder to detect? Because in the places where, because ICE is making rounds in every city, but you don't see all this drama coming out of places where the local authorities and the local people understand what ICE's mission is and they have no problem with it. But in the places where there's mass resistance, there's all this drama. So it's obviously not ICE causing this drama, because if it was ICE causing this drama, we would see this in every city where they deploy. Yet we don't. So now we can pinpoint the drama to Minneapolis. And guess what we see in Minneapolis? The people of Minneapolis and St. Paul basically trying to stage a mass resistance of impeding ICE. Thus, we see the drama. But they're constantly trying to spin it to make it seem like ICE is the problem and these people that are impeding are not the problem. So they're trying to flip the narrative. They're trying to give you the narrative in reverse. Abolish ICE. Democrats split on ICE reform. Listen to how stupid this is. Congressional Democrats are debating the future of ICE as protests intensify following the shooting of Renee Good. Representative Shri Thanadar, that curry is pushing to abolish the agency. Yeah, of course, because they're about to deport his relatives too. Motherfucker. While Representative Chris Pappas says it should refocus on its core mission. Critics like John Hinderaker argue that Democrats are interfering with law enforcement, describing the ongoing anti-ICE protests as an insurrection. It is an insurrection. It's mass resistance to the federal government. That is an insurrection. And it almost seems like they're trying to start some kind of civil war or something. Or at least provoke violence, because now you see them taking to the streets with guns and shit. Minneapolis Police Chief Brian O'Hara just confirmed the city's 911 lines are being swamped by leftists reporting ICE after Mayor Jacob Frey openly encouraged it. Emergency lines weaponized, police resources hijacked, total chaos by design. This is on city leadership. ICE isn't the problem, the sabotage is. And that's literally what they're doing, because Jacob Frey did tell the people to call the police on ICE. So now ICE is everywhere, so everybody's calling the police. So real victims of crime that really need help, they got to get put on hold now because of all these dumbed down leftists that want to defend these foreign nationals. This is insane what's happening over there. But ladies and gentlemen, remember this. This is what life is like under liberal Democrat leadership in your city. When you elect Democrats, this is the type of shit to expect. So if you live in a Democratic city, being prepped and ready to defend yourself is probably one of the best things you can do. Because when there's a political agenda at stake, these politicians will shut everything down and turn everything off if it means pushing the agenda forward, regardless of what happens to you as an American. Remember, part of their agenda was maintaining their political power by creating a new voter base, right? Also, maintaining a stranglehold on the American government by setting up massive amounts of sleeper cells all across the country. So, opening up the borders serve their agenda. Now the entire nation is at risk. We have a president that's actually trying to do something about it. And there's millions of Americans advocating against it. You see, that's because they're looking at it on the surface level, because they're being blinded to the fact that there's even more dimensions to this situation. So the fact that there's heavily armed sleeper cells lying in wait to murder Americans in mass, that thought hasn't even occurred to them yet. even though the same thing just literally happened in Iran, where the sleeper cells activated, and we saw how quickly they were able to kill how many people. In a matter of 3 days, at least 3,000 to 12,000. That's the number they're putting out. Some are saying 12,000, some are saying 3,000. Now, when I say these leftists are taking up arms and taking to the streets, this is what I mean. These cucky, effeminate, half a fag looking motherfuckers who are repressed homosexuals in a lot of cases, and they have feminine emotions because they were raised by their liberal white mothers that taught them, to have, feel your feelings, live in your feelings. And that's why they get emotionally manipulated by the mainstream media. I'm trying to find that slide because I need to show y'all something. They're taking up arms, and these are dangerous fellas. And look at this. Look at this shit. Fucking nails painted. So you're going to die with a fine rifle in your hand with painted nails. That's what you're prepared to do, all for the sake of illegal aliens. These people are retarded. I'm telling you, they are slow. They are not wise thinking people. They're all about the hype. So whatever the hype is on TV, that's what they're into. That's what they're going to do. They're LARPers, live action role players. And if the military were to be deployed under the Insurrection Act, guess what that means? That means every armed individual that stands in opposition of the federal government is now seen as an armed enemy combatant and will be eliminated on sight without prejudice, or with extreme prejudice. Minnesota sanctuary politicians have released nearly 470 criminal illegal aliens back into American communities since President Trump took office. ICE working every single day to remove the worst of the worst criminal illegal aliens from terrorizing their state. Now, this is pretty interesting right here. I got to go to the other gallery so I can blow that up for you. I forgot what slide number that was. What was that? Number 11? Yeah, number 11. So this is the state of Minnesota, has 10 electoral votes. And it says President Trump has already deported enough illegal aliens in Minnesota for the blue state to lose a congressional seat. This is the plan, guys. Trump plans to win by cheating a lot more than he did in 2024. So this was obviously written by a libtard. And somebody kind of set him straight and called it for what it was. And this guy, Death Lift Junkie, says, Australian here. How can the voting outcome change if illegals can't vote? Can illegals vote in America? Or did you just admit voter fraud? You see how stupid these leftists are? Because that's literally what they did by claiming that Trump's trying to change the results of an election by deporting illegal aliens. That would mean that illegal aliens were part of the vote count. So they're either telling on themselves or they're too retarded to know that illegal aliens can't vote in America. I think it's the latter. I think they're telling on themselves, or I should say the former. Nope, that would be, the former. Donald Trump says, just watched footage of the church raid in Minnesota by the agitators and insurrectionists. These people are professionals. No person acts the way they act. They are highly trained to scream, rant, and rave like lunatics in a certain manner, just like they are doing. They are troublemakers who should be thrown in jail or thrown out of the country. The first to go should be Walz and fake sleazebag Ilhan Omar, who is supposedly worth over $30 million, even though she's never had anything but a government job. Investigate these corrupt politicians and do it now. So just days after being arrested, paid leftist agitator William Kelly, that's the bearded guy that ran up in the church if you guys haven't seen the video, who travels state to state harassing ICE. You see, these people are professional paid agitators. stormed the church and demanded churchgoers publicly denounce ICE and stand with Somalians and Latinos while swearing at parents and children. Yeah, I would have whooped their ass. And that's the dude right there. He looks fucking nuts. Rapper Nicki Minaj shares a photo online of what appears to be a father holding his crying son as anti-ICE agitators storm a Minnesota church during Sunday service. She captioned the image, which has been getting a lot of attention online. The world is watching. Now, if Nicki Minaj, a industry whore like Nicki Minaj, and I'm sorry to say it that way, but that's how most of these women get into the industry, can see how wrong this is. Everybody can see how wrong this is. And she's right. The world is watching. I want that thug in jail. He would never do that to any other religion. Lock him up. The Star also posted about Don Lemon, a former CNN anchor who chronicled the church demonstration on social media. And I think Don Lemon led the charge on that whole shit. But the DOJ just announced that they intend to charge Don Lemon under the Ku Klux Klan Act for unlawfully invading a church sermon. Wow, deserved. Yeah. And I made a short video about this situation. And in that video, I explained why I believe Don Lemon was the one that orchestrated this whole thing. Because was he or was he not the only official media outlet there? I wonder why. Just the same way CNN and the Joe Biden administration orchestrated with Jack Smith and as the prosecutor and the FBI down in Florida to raid Mar-a-Lago. It was the same shit. They orchestrated it. That's why CNN was there on scene before the raid even started, because they were notified and they were told, come down here and watch this shit. Shameful display. The pastor who was confronted by anti-ICE agitators at a Minnesota church condemned the mob for the shameful disruption during Sunday service. This is unacceptable. It's shameful. It's shameful to interrupt a public gathering of Christians in worship. I have to take care of my flock. Yeah, but you sat there and you entertained the shit. How you take care of your flock and you ain't get out there and start throwing punches? Kind of pastor are you? Kind of weak ass shepherd is you? When the wolf come, you just going to point at the wolf and say, shame, wolf, for eating my sheep. No, you're going to grab that staff and hook off on his ass. That's what you're going to do. Oh, shit. Vladimir Putin just basically publicly announced an alliance with Trump. That's going to be for Friday's show. Oh, my God. That is big news. I just got a Twitter notification about it. That is huge. But anyway, let's get back to it. Yeah, what kind of shepherd is you? You just gonna let the wolves come in and devour your sheep and sit there and condemn them? The fuck? We're here to worship. We're here to worship Jesus because that's the hope of these cities. That's the hope of the world is Jesus Christ. I mean, the pastor's not wrong saying what he's saying. He's not wrong. He's not incorrect, but he should have been more forceful about getting those people up out of his church. You got to lead the charge because you know what? I'm going to tell you something. The other men in the church, if they would have saw a pastor jump off that pulpit and start swinging on motherfuckers, the other men in that church would have did the same thing. They would have done the same thing. But they saw their pastor try to be all soft and peaceful and shit, so they did the same thing. Can't be soft with these people. You got to let them know I am not the one in this, and today is not the day. And these people are cowards. They only have strength in numbers. They're cowards and they're weak and they're soft. So if the pastor would have got out there and started scrapping with them, he would have been running through the whole crowd, knocking each one of them out one by one, just ah. You know what I'm saying? The power of Christ compels you. The power of Christ compels you. The power of Christ compels you. You know what I'm saying? In the name of Jesus. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, dog. What kind of shepherd are you? I mean, no offense, but maybe everybody's got their own way of handling things, but it would have came to blows with me because now you are invading my sacred space and you are threatening my flock. You are now a credible threat, thus force is necessary. I am going to use force against you. As the leader of this church, I am going to hop down off this pulpit and show my brothers in church how we do things around here, because I am not the one and today is not the day. My wife and kids are here and you're in here making a fucking fool of yourself and cussing and shit. I'm fucking you up. Yeah, that wouldn't happen in the South. They get the Geno Jennings, like I said earlier, Barnes. Usher him out. Usher him out. Hold on, I'm about to play it. Hold on. Matter of fact, let me see something. Because I'm sharing the full screen so I could do it. I'm gonna show y'all. I'm gonna show y'all what he was gonna get. This is what they was gonna get. Usher, I got my keyboard all far away. I'm gonna show y'all. This is what they was gonna get right here. This is what they was gonna get. Hold on. Let me see. I gotta make sure it plays right. I hope this is it. It's a short, so
Usher him out.
yep.
Usher him out.
That's what they would have got.
Usher him out. Take his microphone and usher him out.
That's what they would have got.
Take his microphone and usher him out.
Usher him out.
Take his microphone and usher him out.
Usher him out.
Take his microphone.
Yep.
And usher him out.
That's what they would have got.
Take his microphone. Just a minute. Just a minute.
He about to do something.
Take his microphone.
Look at that, brother. He about to do
usher
something.
Him out.
Usher him out. That brother about
Take
to do
his
something. You see his
microphone
face?
And usher him out.
That's what they would have got. Usher him out. Take his microphone and usher him out. That's what they would have got. That's what Pastor should have been saying, that he should have had some brothers behind him to usher them out. Usher them out. Fuck all that. Man, listen. Don Lemon on church members upset that he stormed their church. They're entitled white supremacists. You see, that's the narrative they're trying to push. And Brother Sanchez was on Sinetter's show today pushing the exact same narrative. Talk about they the ones that hung our ancestors. Motherfucker, do you know that half them ICE agents are Mexicans and black niggas? Do you know that? You just think they're all just white men? Because that's all the TV shows you. Like, come on, bro. But you see, that racist narrative is to set black people up for the slaughter because they want to get more black folks out in the streets. This is why they came up with that. This is why they brought back the new black panties out there with guns being led by a fucking Puerto Rican. This is why they brought them out, to get ignorant black folks out on the street so they can get gunned down by these sleeper cells, and the news will blame the Trump administration. The exact same playbook that they used in Iran. But they want to put black people out front and center so black people catch all the bullets. So, of course, the white liberals hide behind the darkies. The darkies get killed, and all the white liberals scream, "You're a racist!" All this white supremacist talk. Ain't nobody in church talking about no fucking skin color. I've been in church my whole life. I ain't never heard people in church talk about skin color. Because that shit don't matter, because we're not racist. Only racists worry about skin color. There's a lot more, Jaden Stewart, there's a lot more agents out there than you know. And Q warned us years ago. Q's warning was, be careful who you follow, because they'll tell you all these wonderful truths that'll build your trust up. And when it comes down to these crucial issues that will determine the fate of the future of this nation, they will sell you that fucking establishment narrative with everything they got. They'll give you all kind of profound truths about spirituality, about the ancestors, about flat earth and ancient cosmology and all that good shit. But when it comes down to the issues that affect American citizens on the day-to-day, they always side with the establishment, no matter how goofy they have to make themselves look. Because every black person with half a brain in this country knows that what ICE is doing does benefit black people, because having these illegals here was not benefiting black people. It was actually further disenfranchising black people. But they have to sell the narrative. Mind you, Sinetta's platform was where they were pushing the vaccine. They were pushing for Kamala Harris. They are establishment. This is why when Trump was trying to build the wall and the Democrats wanted to open the borders, they too wanted the borders open. You feel me? Because they are agents and they're trying to push this racial narrative and make this a racial thing when it's not a racial thing. It's a matter of nationality, not race. But these agitators are trying to fearmonger black people into getting themselves fucked up with ICE, telling people shit like don't identify yourself, telling people shit like don't comply, don't go to the next location, telling people shit like these are the people that hung and whipped and castrated your ancestors. Really? A Mexican named Officer Gutierrez did that to your ancestors? You mean a 35-year-old man did that to your 200-year-old ancestors? Really? You know, they'll tell you all kind of racial shit, and it's literally the same bullshit that the Democrats push. Literally. I mean, no distinction whatsoever. It's literally the same shit. Even if they use all kinds of fancy words and fancy language to describe the situation, when you break it down to the molecule, it's the exact same compound. A little bit of bullshit, a little bit of truth, a little bit of bullshit, whole lot of racism, a little bit of truth, Democrat bullshit, and it's the same formula every fucking time. And it amounts to you taking the position of what the establishment wants. Because what the establishment don't care about setting up no fucking police state, because they already have the technology to do it. The government has a backdoor to every single operational cell phone in this country. They have full access to your social media. They can hack your phone and upload all kind of shit to your phone right now. You don't think we're already in a police state? So all that police state talk, that's old shit. That's 2008, 2009 shit. We're there already. The next step now is to expand the police state, but only the Democrats are the ones that want to do that. And the way they do it is by allowing mass amounts of crime. This is why you had those Democrat DAs letting criminals out of jail in these big cities, driving up the crime rate. And they were driving up the crime rate so much so that the people started demanding more police and more cameras. That's the play. And they brought in the illegal aliens to further increase the crime rate and increase the threat to the public, so the public will become more dependent on government. That opening of the borders and bringing in the illegals was the catalyst that they wanted. Excuse me. And not only was it the catalyst that they wanted to paralyze the public in fear, but it was also going to be the new voter base to keep them in power. Because nobody in their right mind would vote for a district attorney that doesn't want to lock up somebody that walks the streets and punches random people in the face. Nobody in their right mind would want that person out of jail and vote for a prosecutor that would let that person out of jail. No one. But if you had people who were brand new to the country and barely spoke the language, how would they possibly know this? All they know is Mr. George, give me the check every month, so I vote Mr. George. You see how that works? So they bring them into the country, bribe them, give them voting rights, and they'll continue to vote for the bribe money. And it just so happens that that bribe money is the money they steal out of your fucking check every pay period. Leftists storm St. Paul Church. Don Lemon and Soros-backed recruits. The Sanctuary Smash Protocol. Yeah, that's what Don Lemon called it. And that's the dude that was in the church yelling. This dude looks crazy as bad shit. Like he is on Sherm. Okay? That motherfucker is on Sherm. And these are your anti-ICE protesters. So that's who you're gonna side with. A CNN, a white dude on Sherm, a failed CNN reporter. I mean, how do you fail at reading a script of propaganda? How do you fail at that? And then you got two tether coon sellouts. He's obviously a tether, and that is not an FBA hairline. So I'm pretty sure he's a tether too. And they are puppets of George Soros. They are literally the white man's puppets. So if you're going to take the position of being against ICE, you're going to take the side of a Sherm head, a failed CNN reporter, and two tethers. That's your team. That's your team. That is Team America right there. That's who you siding with. That's who you're going to side with. This motherfucker, he looked like one of them white dudes that be calling in the Sanchez show. Trying to be down and shit. Fucking Sherm head. Look at this motherfucker. Look at it. Look at his eyes. You remember those little baby dolls that when you shake it the right way, and then the eyes open and close? That's what his eyes look like. Motherfucker is on Sherm. these motherfuckers is following a Sherm head. Like, come on, dog. Come on. I bet he'll smoke anything you give him. I swear to God, when I was in the streets, I knew some white dudes like that. Like they were like straight crazy. Like they will smoke anything you give them. Like you take a block of concrete, you just scrape some of the scrapings into a pipe. Like they would smoke that shit. Like, man, I never smoked cement before. Like, what? You're not supposed to. It was a joke. That's the dude that come over to the weed spot and he got all the formulas. Like, if you mix bleach with Vaseline and baking soda, man, it's a rush, dude. Like, he's one of them dudes. Yeah, kratom head, fucking Sherm head. Now he's in the media talking tough, talking about Pam Bondi, come get me. He must have been high on Sherm when he said that shit, because he must have forgot the last motherfucker that told the Trump administration come get him. His whole security team got hit with sonic weapons. Like he must have forgot. He's like, I don't give a fuck, you traitorous bitch. Yeah, well, that traitorous bitch is about to send the goon squad for you, buddy. And you know what? I have a feeling we will not be hearing from him for a very long time. Like his days of smoking Sherm are over. No more Sherm for you, sir. And Don Lemon's going to jail, and these two tethers are going to jail, and that'll be the end of that. That'll be the end of Team Sherm head. But you see what's happening here. 3 black coons following a white Sherm head. Like they couldn't even put a decent white dude to be their agitator. They couldn't even find a white dude with a haircut and some facial features. They literally got fucking Paul Bunyan, the cracked out Paul Bunyan. And that's who they following, and that's who they're trying to get black people to follow out into the streets. Yo, y'all got to be crazy if you follow this dude. Like, y'all got to be smoking Sherm too. Because if this motherfucker came to me and said, yeah, let's go, brother, I'm like, get the fuck, man. If you don't get away from me, and take your body odor with you, man. That shit's lingering. You foul-smelling creature. Like, get out of here. Like, he just looks like he stink, don't he? Like, you just look at his picture, you just smell some shit. Like, what? Like, I swear, if you put your nose close enough to the screen, you might smell like dead cat. That's what he looks like he smells like. He looks like he smells like dead cat piss. Like a dying cat took its last piss, and that's the piss that just stayed, and that's what he smells like. Like he just looks like he stinks. And these them kind of dudes, these crazy shermhead Democrat dudes. These be the dudes that turn gay, not because they're actually gay, but because that's the only way they'll find a hole to stick it in. Because women won't go near him. Like, look at him. Like, I don't even think women would like not want to deal with him because he stinks. I think they'd not want to deal with him because he just looks like he'll murder them. Like he's one of them dudes like you be sleeping in the bed and wake up late at night and this motherfucker got his hand around your neck talking about, listen, bitch, if you ever leave me, I'll kill you. And then he just roll over and go back to sleep. Like, what the fuck just happened? Like, did this motherfucker just threaten my life in my own house? And he get up, there be flies coming out from under the blanket and shit. Like, ugh. Be a green stain on the mattress. Not even brown, green. Motherfucker got algae growing on him. Must be like, motherfucker look like he's like half mushroom. Like this nigga's half man, half mushroom. And you throw water on him, he'll just get soft, like it just get soft and like shrivel up. Y'all remember Pootie Tang? Y'all remember that movie Pootie Tang? Excuse me. Y'all remember that movie Pootie Tang, right? You remember the villain that was dirty? Like he just his superpower was being dirty. And then at the end of the movie, Pootie strapped him to the hood of the car and drove him through the car wash, and he came out sparkling clean. He was like, no. That's what he looked like. And you turn on the hose on him, he'll just melt. Like, no, just turn to a pile of dirt. Like this motherfucker, mud man, sand man. This motherfucker is dirty. Like how do you get this? At least this dude is fresh. Like he looks like he smells like some kind of cologne. You know what I'm saying? Like how do you get this and this on the same fucking team? Like how do you do that? You know how you do that? The same way they get decent dudes like this and cracked out dudes like this working in the same warehouse. You offer them a job. That's how you get them on the same team. You put them on the same payroll. That's how. Because them two would never be friends in real life. Never. Motherfucker just look like yo, this whole image right here, now that I think about it, they did this on purpose. They put them in order. They put them in order from well, first of all, they put them in order from light to dark, going from left to right, but from right to left, they put them in order of like smell. Like he smells all right. She probably smells all right. Probably smell like some curry goat or something. Don Lemon smell like butthole and rubbers, and this motherfucker just smells like a foot. Like they're in order of smell. I just realized that. Like, I'm just, man, I gotta put this weed down, man. I'm seeing shit that I'm not supposed to see right now. and I'm on my second Red Bull. I don't know what to do now, y'all. Like, y'all think Red Bull and alcohol is bad? Like, Red Bull and weed get you really going. Like, oh my goodness, like, man, y'all ain't hitting the Cash App for these jokes, man. Come on, dog. Counting on you guys, man. Look at this funky motherfucker. We need, you know what? We need to start a soap fund. We need to send this guy some soap. So y'all hit the Cash App so we can get this funky motherfucker some soap. He's gonna need lots of soap. Like the first bar, like when he takes a shower for the first time in 3 years, the first bar of soap is gonna melt in his hand like immediately. Like he's gonna get like half an arm wash, and that shit's just gonna disintegrate and turn to like black sludge. So we got to get him like a whole case, like a 18 pack, so he can get himself. Not get him some car soap. That car soap they wash the Lamborghinis with. That's what he needs. Some strong shit. Some shit that's going to really get the algae off. You know what I'm saying? So y'all hit the Cash App for the soap fund for this funky motherfucker right here. What the fuck is his name? Let me go back. William Kelly. That's his name. William Kelly. Like, look at, hold on. Like, look at him. There's like green vapor coming off of him. Like that motherfucker just, man, where do they find these people? Oh, that's right. Craigslist. That's why you don't buy anything off Craigslist. Yeah, the tube socks to go with the 18 pack of soap. Not the tube socks. We gonna give them a blanket party. Damn. Motherfucker looks stink. But the Trump administration is creating a database of all leftist insurrectionists attacking ICE and will be broadcasting their name and face. They're also going to contact their employers. Tom Homan said they will make these leftists famous. Good. So I think they're going to do more than just broadcast their names and faces. I think they're actually going to arrest and charge these people. And the database is being created right now because every time these groups go out to quote unquote protest ICE, they're taking names and they're getting faces. And remember, the feds have facial recognition technology. So all they need is an image of your face. They run it through their database. They know who you are, all your last known addresses, all your family members, every place you've worked at, your bank account balance, how much you owe in taxes, how much the tax system owes you. They know everything. So it won't be too difficult to do this. But the main ringleaders, the ones that are leading the charge in these riots, because that's what they are, they're riots, the ones leading the charge in these riots, they are going to be the ones basically getting snatched and disappeared because they now have to be interrogated because they are they're the lifeline to the higher ups, the ones that are funding the whole operation, and the ones that are funding these anti-ICE protests happen to be the same ones that have funded, whether directly or indirectly, the weaponry for the sleeper cells, because it's all being orchestrated by the same enemy. They want to get the targets out in the streets, and then they're going to unleash the shooters on the targets. Because if they can stage an event and make it look like ICE is just out there shooting people, all the fear mongering and bullshit they're trying to sell Americans now is going to become real in their minds because they've been hearing it so consistently for so long that now that it's happening, it's very easy to make them believe it. Because all the liars and agitators online are going to say, see, I told you this is what they was going to do. I told you that what they were going to do. So these protesters are going to be used as cannon fodder, and they'll be turned on by their masters. And they're trying very desperately to get the black fools out there because, one, the left don't care about black people. Because if they did, they would have been gave black people their reparations. They had all the money to give to the illegals. They had all the money to stuff their pockets. They had all the money to send to Somalia, but they ain't have shit for your black ass. Just saying. So don't you think they would convince you to go join a protest and get out in the street and get yourself killed just to continue selling the propaganda that Trump's a racist? You don't think they're that evil? Well, you have too much faith, my friend. And there is such a thing as having too much faith. You have so much faith that you no longer live in reality. Steve Robinson says, weird how all the parents who've suddenly lost their child care in Minnesota aren't speaking out. And Nick Shirley says, did you ever see one single Minnesotan mother speaking up about their kid actually being in one of these daycares? Not a single mother. Not a single mother. Because the whole daycare thing was a scam to begin with. And this is proof that it was a scam because there were no kids, there were no parents. And just so you guys are aware, these daycares are now being raided. Autopen judge. This is the face of the enemy within. Remember what Q said about the nature of the entrenchment? This is the face of the entrenchment. Yes, that is a woman, not the guy from not Pauly Shore. That is not Pauly Shore. That is a woman, supposedly. Judge Catherine Menendez, Biden-appointed activist judge with 20 years as a public defender, restricts ICE operations in Minnesota, supports criminal activity. Because she's obviously involved in the criminal activity too. Judge Pauly Shore here, buddy. And ICE is still doing their job. ICE is like, fuck what you say, judge, because what you say goes against what our constitutional duty is. So we're going to carry out our constitutional duty. So that's good that ICE is revolting. But you see, all these judges that are making these rulings, all they're doing is marking themselves as targets. That's all they're doing. They're marking themselves as targets, as insurrectionists, but not just insurrectionists. They're marking themselves as insurrectionists within the government. And that's going to spell trouble for them, because that would make them literal infiltrators within our government. We're talking treason and sedition, usurpation of judicial powers. These are big charges that carry up to a death sentence. Now, I don't think Trump is going to take it that far, but she won't be a judge for very long. It looking like a man, says Jason M. Schmidt. Shout out to Jason, man. That's my boy. So the DOJ leadership pushed the FBI to investigate campaign contributions to Minnesota officials amid ongoing fraud claims, sources say. Well, here's the thing. The investigations have already been underway. And again, all that's happening now and everything we're hearing now is basically the public disclosure. And this is all the drama to lead up to the climax when we see all these people get arrested in one swoop. You see, you got to gather all the evidence on everybody. And this is a nationwide operation. So we're talking about the states and cities that we hear about and the cities and states that we don't hear about. Everybody is going to be like Hitler's Night of the Long Knives. But this will actually be with real justice being carried out, where the entire mafia gets raided by different SWAT teams all in one night. That's what we're going to see. Or maybe we won't see it. But that's how it's going to play out. But we're definitely going to see charges come down and these individuals be brought to justice. And they're starting to feel the heat now. They're starting to feel the heat. President Trump just announced he will be locking up all politicians involved with the massive fraud and even called out Ilhan Omar by name. This is what 77 million Americans voted for: accountability for all. So Trump's locking them up, and they're all going to be locked up. You see, locking up all politicians. Just like I said, this is nationwide. Like Kathy Hochul. New York Governor Kathy Hochul, sorry. New York Governor Hochul allocates $50 million in taxpayer funds for legal aid to illegal immigrants, giving away taxpayer money to foreign infiltrators, treason and sedition. Mamdani pledges to spend $100 million more for free lawyers to help migrants facing deportation, using taxpayer money to facilitate illegal aliens. And Mamdani himself is a foreigner. So foreigners infiltrate our government and they start usurping the power of our government to facilitate their fellow foreigners, because they know these people are going to vote for their own, even if their own simply means not American. Now, we hear a lot of these stories, right? ICE agents detain U.S. citizen. And this story, pay attention to the verbiage, because you hear that a lot. ICE agents detain a U.S. citizen in Minnesota without a warrant. Yeah, they detained him. They didn't arrest him. They detained him. There's a difference. On January 18th, 2026, Immigration and Customs Enforcement agents detained Chong Lee Scott Tao, a 56-year-old U.S. citizen, at his home in St. Paul, Minnesota, without a warrant. They don't need a fucking warrant. I don't know why they keep crying about this warrant shit. They don't need a warrant. All they need is a directive, because their directive involves the removal of foreign nationals. Foreign nationals are not entitled to constitutional protections. They're foreign nationals. That's why they get ejected from the country and sent back to where they come from. Because if they were entitled to constitutional protections, they would be put in jail. But they're not being put in jail. They're being put in these facilities that ship them back home. The incident is part of a broader federal operation known as Operation Metro Surge. Details of the incident. Warrantless entry. Masked agents reportedly forced open the door of Tao's home at gunpoint without presenting a warrant. They don't have to present a warrant because if they're hunting a suspect and the suspect is in the home, they already have the arrest warrant. That's the warrant. And they don't have to show you the arrest warrant until they go to court. Search warrant, they have to show you. Arrest warrant, they don't have to show you shit. They just got to go and pick your ass up. Conditions of detention. Tao was let out of his home into sub-freezing temperatures, approximately 12 degrees Fahrenheit, wearing only his underwear, a baby blanket, and Crocs. Duration, he was handcuffed and driven around for about an hour while being questioned before agents verified his citizenship and returned him home. So why did it take all that for them to verify his citizenship? Do you know why? Because he didn't want to verify it when they were at his fucking door. And why is ICE going door to door in the first place? Well, they're going off the information that these illegal aliens provided to the welfare system of where they live, one. Two, they're going door to door because now these illegal aliens are staying home and not taking their kids to school because the crooked Democrats that run Minneapolis have shut the schools down in order to undermine ICE's efforts. So the Democrat government of Minnesota set this man up for failure, and this man didn't do himself any favors by refusing to identify himself. That's why they drove his ass around. DHS justification. The Department of Homeland Security claimed it was a targeted operation for 2 convicted sex offenders and that Tao matched a target's description and refused to identify himself. Tao's family strongly disputes these claims. Excuse me. I don't believe it for 1 second because they're being told not to identify themselves. You see, and you know what's crazy? I haven't read any of this. This is my first time seeing this, and before I even got to that line, I already knew what it was about. Context and other 2026 incidents. See, they're desperately trying to frame up this narrative that ICE is these big bad bullies. When the people that ICE is going after, a large percentage of them are the big bad bullies. This event occurred during a period of heightened tension and several other reports of warrantless detentions in Minnesota. ICE don't need no fucking warrant. Target store incident. 2 teenage U.S. citizens were reportedly tackled and detained by federal agents at a Target in Ridgefield before being released. And again, these people are escalating these situations, but the fake news is not telling you what role they had to play in their own trouble. They're bringing this trouble on themselves because these are not the only people being stopped and harassed by ICE, but the people who are not getting fucked up and tackled and interrogated, they identify themselves so ICE can move on. Operation Metro Surge, a massive deployment of federal agents has led to over 500 arrests since early January 2026, prompting lawsuits from the ACLU and local officials alleging unconstitutional tactics. Again, ICE can act outside of the Constitution because they're dealing with foreign nationals under a state of declared war. Renee Nicole Good shooting. Public outrage has been further fueled by the fatal shooting of Renee Nicole Good, a mother of 3, by an ICE agent on January 7th, 2026. And you see how they left out the part that the bitch ran the man over with the fucking car? It's crazy. No, we can skip that. But when I say Tim Walz is feeling the heat, he's feeling the heat because he's changing his tune. Just a week ago, it was all good. Just a week ago, he was talking all that good shit, right? Talking all that tough shit. I never thought we'd be in a civil war. We need to resist ICE. He says, Mr. President, Minnesota invites you to see our values in action. Come see how communities from all walks of life are working together and how the spirit of the state refuses to be defined by division or fear. What the fuck does that even mean? I invite you to join me and others in our community to help restore calm and order and reaffirm the true public safety that true public safety comes from shared purpose, trust, and respect. Oh, now it's about trust and respect. When again, it was all good just a week ago. You was talking all that disrespectful shit, encouraging people to impede the federal government. Now all of a sudden it's about restore calm when you were the one fomenting the chaos. You see how he's changing? You see how he's changing his tune now? That's because now he knows he's being investigated and he's guilty as sin. And now he's trying to make good with the president. And this is why Trump is holding off on the Insurrection Act, because they're starting to change their tune. But I think he's still going to go for it because not all of them are smart enough to change their tune, because Ilhan Omar is doubling down. And Jacob Frey, he hasn't said much, but I would suspect he's doubling down too. Now, this is a great point by Joey Manorino. Joey says, I remember having to show a vaccination card to eat dinner. Spare me the bullshit about proof of citizenship being a burden. Right. Because these same people that are saying ICE is acting unconstitutionally, these same Democrats, 5 years ago, were they not the same ones saying that you must show proof of vaccination, which is literally a violation of your constitutional rights and a violation of the of HIPAA, which is a federal law that protects you from having to divulge your medical information to anybody who asks. Anybody other than a judge or anybody other than a judge. But now all of a sudden, it's about their constitutional rights, when 5 years ago, constitutional rights didn't fucking exist to these people. Because they didn't care about your constitutional right to not be injected with a fucking biological weapon, did they? They're hypocrites. And anybody siding with these hypocrites is just as much of a hypocrite. So, the actual military unit that Trump has on standby is the 11th Airborne Division. And these guys, they're a step above regular Army because they're specialized, but they're not special forces. Right? Because I asked Google, is Army Airborne 11th Airborne Division special forces? And it says no. The 11th Airborne Division, the Arctic Angels, that's what they're called because they're specialized in Arctic warfare, is an elite airborne infantry division focused on Arctic Indo-Pacific operations, but it's not a special operations unit. True SOF units fall under U.S. Army Special Operations Command, like Special Forces Green Berets or Rangers, though both have airborne capabilities. The 11th provides large-scale combat readiness. You see that? Large-scale combat readiness, specializing in extreme cold weather, while SOF focuses on specialized, often clandestine missions, right? But this is where it gets interesting, folks. The Arctic Angels, set to deploy in Minnesota, where it's cold. They have the gear, they have the equipment to operate under those conditions. They specialize in they provide large-scale combat readiness. Why would they have to have combat readiness? Because when they deploy to these major cities in this cold weather, there's a good possibility that they may meet armed enemy combatants. You see these people out in the streets slinging their rifles with their painted nails in their butt plugs, right? So the Arctic Angels are going to deploy expecting armed resistance, which they're going to crush. But the SOF, the Special Operations Forces, they actually do deploy with the Arctic Angels if need be, and they run clandestine missions. Now, what will be these clandestine missions would be the snatch and grabs of the funders, the organizers, and some low-level politicians, and possibly some high-level politicians. So be ready for that. Check this out. Roll. The 11th Airborne trains for large-scale combat in harsh environments, acting as a highly mobile infantry force. SOF units conduct special missions like direct action, unconventional warfare, and foreign internal defense. So, direct action would be target. Go insert, eliminate, or capture a target, exfiltrate. Unconventional warfare, that will be like infiltration, undercover, dressing like the protesters to join their ranks to gather intel on them, that type of shit. Foreign internal defense, defending consulates, defending U.S. territories and foreign U.S. territories and personnel in foreign lands, etc., or taking out foreign targets. Command. The 11th is part of the regular Army structure, while SOF units belong to USASOC, U.S. Army Special Operations Command. Specialization. While both have airborne in their names and conduct airborne operations, which means if the 111th jumps into Michigan, into Minnesota, the Special Operations unit attached to them, they can jump with them because they all train to do the same shit. So they all can insert airborne. Now imagine if they did that jump in the dead of night. None of these people would even see them there. So one day, all these protesters will be out in the street, fuck you, and smelling like musty bears and shit, and doing what they do. And then they'll wake up the next morning and they'll be fucking military all over the whole street. Just like that. It could happen just like that. Because if they jump at night, who's going to see them? Okay, and conduct airborne operations. The 11th is a conventional airborne division, while SOF units like Special Forces are specifically trained for unique high-risk missions. So let's say ICE kicks in a door, grabs some illegal aliens, and they find some of these military-grade weapons, right? What's going to happen is the other sleeper cells would get wind of their buddies getting busted, the weapons getting seized, so they'll move to another stash house, possibly, and they would continue to prepare for whatever armed operation that they have planned, right? So what ICE would do is they would target these guys, and if they could snatch them on the streets while they're on the job or while they're out and about, they'll snatch them that way or while they're in traffic, but they won't go to that stash house for fear of these guys in the stash house, knowing that the last stash house got hit, they'll be ready to put up armed resistance. So they'll forward that intel now that they're getting from the guys they captured in the first stash house to the military units, and then SOF goes in on the late night, on the midnight raids and does their thing, because that's what they do. They kick in doors where behind those doors there's very bad guys with very big machine guns waiting to Swiss cheese a motherfucker. That's what they do. Where we at? Okay. In essence, think of the 11th as elite, rapidly deployable conventional forces, while SOF units are distinct specialized forces with different missions and training, right? So the 11th Airborne, they might be the guys patrolling the streets during the day, and then the SOF units will be the guys kicking in the doors at night. And again, they all have the ability to airdrop to deploy via jumping out of planes. So they can deploy overnight and be in the streets by the next morning, and nobody would have a clue how they got there. They didn't see any convoys roll in. They didn't hear no helicopters hovering low. None of that shit. They just went to bed one night, woke up, and the streets is crawling with our guys. Yes, special operations. So I asked, can special operations forces deploy with 11th Airborne? And AI says yes. Can you guys read that shit, or is it too small? Do I have to pull that up in the other gallery or what? I don't know. I'm starting to think I should. Barnes Homestead says Real Raw News reports special forces are also training for urban warfare at 29 Palms Base in California. Yeah, and Trump did make mention of deploying Marines, and 29 Palms is a Marine Corps base. So that's very possible. Very fucking possible. And I wouldn't doubt it for a second. Okay, where are we? Okay, here we go. So I basically asked, do special operations forces, can they deploy with the 11th Airborne? And it says, yes, special operations forces can and do train and deploy in coordination with conventional units like the 11th Airborne Division. So this is not something out of the ordinary. This is not some special task force that was just created. These units operate jointly routinely. So when I say the 11th Airborne Division is the division that's being announced that's going to be deploying, those are the guys you're going to see. But the SOF guys that are going to deploy with them, those are the guys you won't see. The 11th Airborne Division is designed for rapid deployment, including Arctic and Pacific theater operations. Key details regarding the interaction between SOF and the 11th Airborne Division. Joint operations and training. The 11th Airborne Division frequently participates in Joint Pacific Multinational Readiness Center rotations, JPMRC rotations, which integrate conventional forces with joint capabilities, including SOF partners, to enhance interoperability, which means if the 11th Airborne is going to be on the streets to keep the peace potentially, the SOF guys are going to be lying in wait and they'll come out at night. So it'll be 11th Airborne you see by day, and then SOF running around. They'll be the ghosts running around at night. And again, this is nothing out of the ordinary for special operations units to train and deploy with regular Army units. And they do the same thing with the National Guard. They're special operations units that deploy with the National Guard, especially when they're dealing with organized chaos. The National Guard touches down to keep the peace by day, and the special operations units, they touch down and go after the organizers of the chaos by night. Arctic expertise. As a specialized Arctic unit, the 11th Airborne works on joint forcible entry operations where their specialized skills in extreme cold weather operations complement their specialized units. And again, Minnesota, it's extremely cold right now. There's snow and ice everywhere. You see the videos, these ICE agents trying to chase after people and they busting their ass in the snow and shit because they're not equipped to operate in frigid temperatures and cold weather like that. Operational scenarios. During training such as Wolf Valkyrie, 11th Airborne units, the Arctic Wolves, focus on rapid deployment and securing territory, a scenario in which they might work alongside special operations forces. Right, because in securing territory from enemy forces, you need to take out the enemy leadership. And how do you take out the enemy leadership? Special operations forces. That's what the fuck they do. Co-location and interaction. As of late 2024, Alaska-based soldiers from the 11th Airborne Division have conducted training such as hoist operations with Green Berets, Special Forces. So they've been training with the Green Berets since 2024. Here we are in 2026, and SOF is deploying with 11th Airborne. Green Berets. It will be the Green Berets doing the midnight raids. Michael W. says they're waiting on a call from ICE. I think I think it's deeper than that, Michael W. I think they are collecting as much intel from ICE as they can. Like they're already getting the calls, right? But I'm saying they're putting together a comprehensive list of all the stash houses, all the individuals involved, all the names and faces of the high value targets. And once they have a nationwide spread of everybody and where they are, all these different specialized units are going to be deployed. Like let's say in the Midwest, in the more mountainous regions of the Midwest, they're going to deploy maybe the 10th Mountain Division, the Marines, 10th Mountain Marines. You know what I'm saying? So in each scenario, different units are going to be deployed. But in Minnesota, we're talking 11th Airborne, Green Berets, and it's probably going to be all over the entire Northwest because Portland, Oregon, Northern California, Washington State, all those states up there in the Midwest, it's fucking cold, and these liberals are getting out of hand. While the 11th Airborne is considered a conventional light infantry unit, not a SOF unit itself, its mission to operate in denied harsh environments make them ideal partners for integrated operations with special operations forces. Sonny says, pinging them phones and checking them twice. Got to find out who gets deported by ICE. I like that. I like that. And these are your guys, the Arctic Wolves or the Arctic Angels. So this is why the smart Democrats are starting to tone it down, because they know what we know. But the stupid ones are still trying to turn up. They're still trying to turn up because they think they know, but they have no fucking idea what they're asking for. They are barking up the wrong damn tree. Y'all give me a minute. All right, I'm back, y'all. My bad. My bad. We back up in the heezy for sheezy. Baby. I'm talking like I'm from New Orleans, baby. Y'all hit that Cash App, baby. Support the show. Support your boy, you heard? I can't do that. I don't know how they transition from the wired. I don't know how they do that. But shout out to my New Orleans folks, man. Shout out to the folks in New Orleans. All right, so what's funny is Trump just recently had a meeting in Alaska. Now, the 11th Airborne, they're stationed in Alaska, right? Trump just had a meeting with Vladimir Putin at a military base in Alaska. And wouldn't you know? Hold on. Wouldn't you know? Sorry, I was checking my email to make sure I wasn't missing any donations. But shout out to you guys, man. We got 2 supporters on the board so far. My good brother Lee 12412. My good brother Lee 14224. I can't even remember the numbers now. I'm having a brain fart, Lee. Lee 14224. That's it. And my brother D Allen on the Cash App. Shout out to y'all. But where did Trump go in Alaska? The 2025 Russia-United States Summit, also known as the Trump-Putin Summit in Alaska, was a summit meeting between United States President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin. It was held on August 15th, 2025 at Joint Base Elmendorf Richardson in Anchorage, Alaska, right? Now, check this out. The U.S. Army's 11th Airborne Division, known as the Arctic Angels, is stationed in Alaska with its headquarters at Joint Base Elmendorf Richardson, and elements also at Fort Wainwright, focusing on Arctic operations, making it the Army's premier Arctic Airborne Division. The division was reactivated in 2022, taking over the mission and location of U.S. Army Alaska. So at the same base where the 11th Airborne is stationed at was the same base where Trump had his meeting with Putin at. I think this is all part of a bigger plan that involves Putin. But it can't move forward unless these crooked politicians get removed. These foreign infiltrators get flushed out and weeded out of the government. And this fraud scheme is going to be the linchpin that takes the whole system down. I mean, demolish it. Because remember, if these politicians were getting away with this fraud in one state for so long, they were all doing it all in their respective states, and they're all going to go down for it. All of them. And I firmly believe that before this winter is over, Trump will declare the Insurrection Act or invoke the Insurrection Act and deploy these operational units to these designated cities in order to effect these arrests, because the local law enforcement can't be trusted. They're standing down and they're letting the rioters run amok. And even if the local law enforcement wants to do their job, the rioters are clogging up the 911 lines. So, military is the only way. The Department of Justice confirmed on January 19th that it is investigating anti-ICE protesters under the Federal Freedom of Access to Clinic Entrances Act following the disruption of a church service in St. Paul, Minnesota. So this takes us back a little bit to the church situation. They're actually investigating it. And check this out. The incident. On Sunday, January 18th, 2026, dozens of protesters from the Radical Justice Network, another leftist-funded, Soros-funded organization, and Black Lives Matter Minnesota, the George Floyd crowd, disrupted a service at City's Church in St. Paul. The protesters targeted the church because one of its pastors, David Easterwood, reportedly serves as the acting director of the U.S. Immigrations and Customs Enforcement St. Paul field office. So it was a targeted attack. The demands. Demonstrators chanted ICE out and sought justice for Renee Good. Well, why would you go into a church seeking justice for a dead woman? It's not the church's job to investigate or prosecute that situation. So why are you in the church harassing them people? And I love how they keep saying a mother of three. Mind you, two of the kids, she was putting cigarettes out on them and lost custody of them. So what mother was she? DOJ response. Assistant Attorney General Harmeet Dillon stated the Civil Rights Division is investigating potential FACE Act violations, describing the incident as desecrating a house of worship. Attorney General Pam Bondi directed the investigation, promising to prosecute any federal crimes. So it sounds to me like they're all going to jail. And I'm pretty sure they're going to go to jail for a lot more than just what they did that Sunday. While primarily known for protecting reproductive health clinics, the FACE Act of 1994 also prohibits the use of force, threats of force, or physical obstruction to intentionally interfere with any person exercising their First Amendment right of religious freedom at a place of religious worship. So the law is pretty clear. And their actions are pretty clear, and their violations of this law are pretty clear in their actions. The DOJ's current leadership has signaled a shift in enforcement, stating they will use the act to protect religious institutions from intimidation and harassment. This investigation is part of a broader escalation in Minnesota, where the Trump administration is also conducting a criminal inquiry into Governor Tim Walz and Mayor Jacob Frey for allegedly conspiring to impede federal agents. So not only are they being investigated for the financial crimes, but they're being investigated for impeding ICE. So we're talking about a slew of charges, not just the financial shit. But here's why supporting the illegal aliens is suicide. These are families. This is a chart that shows families receiving welfare. And shout out to Cash Jordan for posting this. And I hate that his video was right here and it blocked these categories. One is cash, food, Medicaid, housing, and I'm not sure what the other one is that his video is blocking out. But as you can see, there's three colors here: blue, red, and purple. And blue represents U.S.-born headed households. Red represents legal immigrant households, and the purple represents illegal headed households, meaning the blue is American citizens born here. The red is legal immigrants, people who came to the country legally and got naturalized as citizens or still have green cards. And the purple is the border hoppers and the visa overstayers. And when you look at the families receiving welfare in almost every category, the illegals are getting the most welfare. 39%, excuse me, American citizen head households or born citizen held households are collecting welfare here. Cash assistance is 16%. Food stamps is 25%. Medicaid, 25%. And housing is 5%. Right? Then you look at how many legal immigrants? 52%. Cash assistance, 23%. Food, 34%. Medicaid, 36%. Housing, 5%. Then when you look at the illegals, they're collecting 59%. The cash assistance, 18%. Food stamps, 48%. They're leading the charge there. And Medicaid, 39%, leading the charge there. And housing, they're at 4%, which is neck and neck with the legal residents and citizens of this country. Why the fuck are illegals getting the same amount or more welfare than legal Americans? Illegal aliens who shouldn't even be in the country shouldn't be getting welfare at all. So this in itself is problematic, and the politicians who allow this are problematic. This is why the quote-unquote entitlement programs are so expensive, and this is why our taxes are so fucking high. Do you understand, with the tariffs and the wiping out of all this fraud that's been going on, and the removal of these illegal these illegal aliens who've just been sucking on the system the whole time they were here? Do you understand how low our taxes are going to go? because the government won't need all that money because they're not running these fraud schemes anymore? Now, this is funny because these propagandists are some sick motherfuckers. So this guy right here is a cartoonist, and this was one of his cartoons of Trump molesting, sexually assaulting a woman, which they falsely accused Trump of this for years, still haven't proven a fucking thing. But what's funny is Washington Post cartoonist Darren Bell arrested for child pornography. So he's a pervert. That's why he can conjure up these perverted cartoons in his mind and just put Trump's face on it. Because these perverted cartoons are literally coming from the minds of perverts. And again, this is not the first time that some leftist pervert tried to call Trump a pervert and was caught literally being a pervert and literally went to jail for being a pervert. Literally on the last show, I just showed you guys another story of another guy that says Republicans are pedophiles, and then he ended up going to prison for being a pedophile. And again, these people are NPCs. They literally have I said literally too many times. They have no imagination. So all they can do is draw upon what it is that they're guilty of and project it onto other people who they don't like and they wish to smear. From the mind of a pervert NPC. Now, Trump and Russia definitely got something going on, and the removal of these corrupt politicians is step one, and there's another big step coming down the pike, and I got that slide for you too. Russia has deported every Rothschild family member. The final deportation occurred this week. You see? I told you Vladimir Putin was getting rid of the deep state, and Vladimir Putin was getting rid of the Rothschilds, and Vladimir Putin was returning his country back to being a true, free, sovereign nation with their own banking system and everything, their own central bank. And looky here. And guess what Trump is doing? Trump threatens JP Morgan lawsuit. And when Trump threatens a lawsuit, he actually sues. President Trump says he will sue JP Morgan Chase within 2 weeks, claiming the bank inappropriately closed his accounts after the January 6, 2021 Capitol protest. He alleges the move was politically motivated debanking. JP Morgan says it does not close accounts for political beliefs. Trump also denied reports that he offered CEO Jamie Dimon a role leading the Federal Reserve. No, he never offered Jamie Dimon a role leading the Federal Reserve. But the fact that he's going to sue JP Morgan, that lawsuit is going to be of monumental proportions. And if Trump can sue JP Morgan out of existence, that will cause a domino effect because other people who have been debanked now, because of that precedent set by Donald Trump, other conservatives who've lost their bank accounts, they're going to sue and they're going to collapse these banks. This lawsuit will collapse the banks. And boy, it's going to be a sight to see because they took down his Twitter account so they can start lying on him and saying that he encouraged people to commit violence when all the man was saying on Twitter was be peaceful. And there's screenshots of those tweets all over the internet. But this is how they play. They play dirty. And they debanked him because they wanted to try to steal all his money so that way he couldn't finance his campaign. His next campaign. He'd be too busy trying to dig himself out of a hole, just like every other American, so he wouldn't have the time or the resources to fight them. And it 100% was politically motivated because the entire fake January 6th narrative was politically motivated. And I think before Trump even gets this lawsuit to court, they're going to settle with him. And the settlement is going to be huge. And even with them settling, that's going to trigger a domino effect, which will cause more people to sue. You watch and see. Now, in the spirit of addressing the criminality within government, this chart kind of puts it in perspective. FBI arrests, 1 year under President Trump, 197% increase. So in 2024, there were 22,500 FBI arrests under the Joe Biden administration, right? And what's funny is about little over 1,500 to 1,000 of those arrests were, guess who? January 6th. Well, about 500 of those arrests or so were more January 6th protesters who were falsely accused. Mind you, none of them were ever charged with insurrection, yet the fake news kept calling it insurrection. They were charged with trespassing and destruction of property, charges like that, like misdemeanor charges. And they were held in jail for years without trial, without due process, because the Democrats and the establishment up in Washington, D.C., they knew that these people would beat their cases if they put them on trial. So they had to hold off on the trials just so they can keep them locked up. And then 2025 comes around, Trump pardons all these people, but somehow the FBI still manages to make 67,000 arrests. That means these 67,000 criminals were operating back in 2024 under Biden, but were somehow undetected. Then Trump comes into office and boom, the criminals start getting busted. This chart right here alone shows you that Joe Biden was obviously turning a blind eye to a lot of the federal crimes that were occurring, whereas President Trump is actually trying to address those federal crimes that are occurring. And he still is to this day. Now, this story kind of shook me up a little bit, right? And I'll tell you why. Because I keep talking about these sleeper cells that are going to go out and commit mass shootings. And there was a mass shooting in Stockton, I believe Stockton, California, with 19 people shot and 4 dead. Now, I haven't come across any details about this shooting, if it was some personal shit or if it was some random shit. But from what I could find, there's not much being said about it, which leads me to suspect that this might have been sleeper cell activity. But we don't know because the facts aren't out. An 8-year-old, a 9-year-old, a 14-year-old, and a 21-year-old were killed in the Stockton shooting. See what I'm saying? And we're going to see more of this as, as the walls close in on these Democrats. They're going to begin to lash out and act prematurely, and they're going to deploy their sleeper cells and get themselves caught up because they deployed the sleeper cells in Iran and they didn't get very far. Remember what happened in Iran? Mass protests in the streets, the sleeper cells activated under the direction of the Israeli Mossad, and they began murdering protesters. So the Zionist media over here in America can convince us that it was Ayatollah Khomeini killing his own people. And they're still trying to push that lie. This is a screenshot from a video, and it says Iranian reporter talking about cars while showing arrested Mossad agents. And the people in the blue jumpsuits sitting here on the ground with their legs shackled, those are members of the terror cells that were captured who were committing the mass violence. They were captured by the Ayatollah's security forces. So as the fake news tries to spin the narrative that it was the Ayatollah's people himself, his security forces themselves killing the people, here you have Iranian media exposing that it was Israeli sleeper cells. And the Mossad is trying to recruit new collaborators in Iran through Google ads after the failed regime change. Right. After they failed to murder all those people and blame the Ayatollah, now they're trying to get more people to work with them because they lost a lot of manpower. They damn near almost lost their foothold and their entire infiltration unit in Iran because they activated and they couldn't overwhelm the Iranian forces. Now they're trying to get more people so they can start the violence up again, because as long as they get guns shooting and people dying in the streets of Iran, they could place the blame squarely on the Ayatollah and get rid of him. And the reason why they want to get rid of the Ayatollah is because the Ayatollah ain't playing games with Israel. And now he's got even more of a reason to level Israel because Israel just infiltrated his country and killed thousands of his people. And all this, Trump is owned by Israel, America owns Israel, da-da-da-da-da. All that shit's going to be out the window. And I have a sneaking suspicion that before the midterm elections happen, Iran is going to level Israel. Israel will not exist anymore because they've taken it too fucking far. They've gone too far, and the entire world sees it, and nobody's going to bat an eye for them, not even Trump. And the reason why Trump's not going to bat an eye for them, because their sleeper cells here in America that were holding the country hostage, they're getting mopped up right now. And the rest of them are going to get mopped up when the military deploys. And so Trump can then buck the system and go against what the Zionists want. In fact, let me show you how desperate they are. They're lighting fires in South America in countries that are allied with Trump. Chile in ruins after massive wildfire. I don't know if you guys can see these images, but they basically turned Chile into Gaza. Hold on a second. Let me go to the other gallery so I can blow it up. They got Chile looking like Gaza because they burnt the whole fucking place down. Look at that shit. Look at that. Everything destroyed. That's your Zionists for you. And the world is watching. And when they get what's coming to them, nobody's going to bat an eye. And the reason why Trump won't bat an eye is because, one, the American people will be safe because the sleeper cells that would retaliate against the American people for Trump's defiance, they would be out of business. And two, Trump's going to have his hands full with the Mexican drug cartels. And he's going to say, oh, we can't fight a war on two fronts. You're on your own, Israel. Here, take these guns and bombs and do what you can with it. Take this old ass, dusty ass equipment, do what you can with it. That's what Trump's going to do. So he'll play it as if he's still cool with Israel, but his hands are tied and he can't help them. And the other excuse is going to be, well, we can't afford a war with Russia right now, so we can't help you with Iran. That's how that's going to go. You mark my words. And the reason why I suspect it's going to go that way is because the Zionist establishment in America is going into panic mode. They are in panic mode. Listen to this. ADL head, the Anti-Defamation League head, Jonathan Greenblatt, says Americans who criticize Jews in Israel will be monitored by the FBI. We will monitor social media and check your bank accounts. I have 40 analysts working 24/7, 7 days a week. This is a hostile occupation, is what the caption says. This motherfucker, Jonathan Greenblatt, is an idiot. Because doesn't 24/7 mean 7 days a week? Isn't the 7 in 24/7 imply the days? So he did the same liberal redundancy where they write the same phrase twice over without even thinking about it. But he's in panic mode. He is in panic mode. The FBI don't give a fuck about no damn Israel. The FBI is trying to get rid of these damn illegals and these criminal aliens and these criminal citizens that are helping these illegal aliens. That's what the FBI is concerned with. They don't give a fuck about a motherfucker talking about Israel. Israel is not going to exist in 8 to 9 months. And that's why Jonathan Greenblatt is saying that shit, because he's trying to silence any dissent against Israel. So when Iran starts destroying Israel, they can play the victim and have their pity party. But if they allow too many people to start talking about Israel and exposing Israel for the evil satanic state that they are, when Iran starts to bomb them, nobody's going to feel sorry for them and their pity party won't work. And the reason for their pity party is going to be to garner support, to put pressure on Trump to send our military over there to help these motherfuckers. And it won't work. It will not work. So now he's making threats. Now he's making threats. And the ADL, mind you, is not part of the FBI or part of the government. So when he says they will be monitored by the FBI, and then he says we will monitor social media and check your bank accounts. Who's we, Greenblatt? Who's we? You and the rest of your Anti-Defamation League. And you know what the Anti-Defamation League is? They're just a group of motherfuckers that calls everybody anti-Semitic and files lawsuits against anybody that speaks out against Israel. They are literally the organization to silence the anti-Israel dissent. That's their job. And they're a bunch of clowns. He was the same one that went on the Breakfast Club when Kanye West was exposing that they run the media, even though they've said and bragged about being the ones that run the media. He went on the Breakfast Club and said, we got to teach him a lesson. That's what John Greenblatt said. He said, we have to teach Kanye West a lesson. So they canceled all his contracts and basically blackballed him. And it didn't work. It actually worked in Kanye's favor because he was able to get out of all his contracts overnight. So when you see them openly making stupid ass threats like this, damn, I got either a nose hair right there in the corner of my nose or a damn booger. I don't know. Hold on. Excuse me, y'all. Because every time I talk, it like something touches down there in the corner. I don't know what the fuck's going on. But when you see them openly making threats like this, they are in panic mode. They're in panic mode. All right. Now, the CIA was always an organization that the American people didn't really trust or have much faith in. But what people need to realize is that the CIA, damn, now I need a back scratcher. I'm just all kinds of fucked up tonight, huh? What people don't realize is the CIA is an organization that's simply loyal to the president. So when you have a bad guy for the president, the CIA will be out doing bad guy shit. When you have a good guy for the president, the CIA will be out doing good guy shit. All they do is follow orders. Even the ones that were dealing drugs and trafficking kids, you know why they were doing that? Because they were following orders. That's it. They're literally like fully functional, combat ready, operational drones. They just do what they're told. And the CIA's new focus on Latin America reflected in raid to seize Maduro. In other words, the CIA is crawling all over Latin America, and the CIA are the ones cutting off the drug routes through Central America because they're taking down the networks that are operating and trying to reestablish new trade routes. And a lot of these guys are getting assassinated because the CIA hit squads are shutting them down before they can even get started. A senior U.S. official declined to confirm the specific operations in Venezuela, but said a covert team provided real-time support for the military. And I believe that covert CIA team were the ones with the sonic weapon. What do you think, guys? I think they were providing intel, and they were the ones deploying the sonic weapon. Because remember when they were talking about back in the 90s, talking about the heart attack gun and talking about microwave weapons and directed energy weapons in the early 2000s, who were the ones basically experimenting with all these weapons? It was the CIA. So when you hear about sonic weapons being used and the CIA, the jackals being turned loose in Latin America, including Venezuela, well, you put two and two together, it was the CIA guys with the sonic weapon. Now, the thing about this Iran situation, right, is it's a very weird situation because Ayatollah Khomeini took power, I believe, in like 1979. But prior to that, Shah Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, the Shah of Iran, was the leader, and he had taken power in 1941. Now, remember, in 1947, I believe, or 48, was when the state of Israel was established. And the state of Israel had a friendly relationship with America, and so did Iran under the Shah, which leads me to believe that the Shah of Iran was also under Zionist influence. And I typed in U.S. relations with Iran under the Shah, right? And this is what the AI said. U.S. relations with Iran under Shah Mohammad Reza Pahlavi were very close with the U.S., viewing Iran as a key Cold War ally and regional policeman, providing significant military aid and economic support after the 1973 oil crisis in exchange for regional stability and anti-Soviet alignment, which would mean alignment with the Zionists, in case you weren't clear on that. However, this strong partnership This strong partnership, built on the Shah's authoritarian rule and support for U.S. foreign policy, fostered deep resentment among Iranians, culminating in the 1979 Islamic Revolution that overthrew the Shah and severed ties with the U.S. And the ties with the U.S. were by way of Israel. So Israel basically had a foothold in Iran, and the Iranian people did not like that shit because they knew who those people were. They saw what they did to the Palestinians and what they were doing to the Palestinians, and the Iranians did not like that. So the last Shah of Iran, Mohammad Reza Shah Pahlavi, ruled for nearly 4 decades, from 1941 until he fled the Iranian Revolution in January 1979, ending the Pahlavi dynasty's rule. He ascended the throne after his father was forced to abdicate during World War II, initially sharing power before becoming an autocratic ruler, especially after a US-UK backed coup restored him in 1953. And I believe that Crown Prince guy that was on the news the other day talking about how basically pushing the narrative that the Ayatollah Khomeini was the one killing all the people in Iran. I believe he's a relative of the former Shah of Iran. And this is Shah Mohammad Reza Shah. That's him right there. He looks very small-hattish, doesn't he? And I believe these people were closely tied to Israel, and they were reluctant to offer aid to the Palestinians as the Palestinians were being terrorized and having their land stolen by the Israelis. And I believe, I'm not sure, because the history books paint it out to be some sort of religious uprising in Iran, but I think it had a lot more to do with what the Israelis were doing to the Palestinians and the Iranians wanting to help and not being able to because the Shah refused to. And the U.S., of course, at the time under deep state control, was aiding and abetting Israel in that operation to steal the land from the Palestinians. Right? Now, what's interesting to note is that under the Ayatollah currently, I put U.S. relations with Iran under Ayatollah Khomeini. And it says, no, the U.S. didn't support Ayatollah Khomeini's anti-American Islamic Republic. In fact, they were wary, but the Carter administration secretly communicated with him before the 1979 revolution, seeking stability with Khomeini, assuring the U.S. interests would be safe, leading to U.S. discouragement of a military coup against the Shah, a move that inadvertently helped Khomeini consolidate power, ultimately resulting in an adversarial relationship. Right? So when the U.S. was under deep state control, the Shah of Iran was in control of Iran. And during that same period, while the U.S. was under deep state control, the Ayatollah Khomeini basically severed ties with the deep state once the Islamic Revolution in Iran had been successful and Ayatollah Khomeini was able to take power. And ever since then, Iran has been the big bad enemy to the United States. And oddly enough, during that period that Iran has been the big bad enemy to the United States had been under Zionist and deep state control. And when Trump came into power, the projection of Iran being the big bad enemy of the United States continued, but Trump's actions seem to suggest that there's some sort of alliance there. And that's because the Ayatollah was anti-deep state, and Trump is anti-deep state, and Israel is the heart and center of the deep state. You see? So when you hear that, oh, Iran and America were enemies or were friends, and now Iran and America are enemies, just like Iran had a seat change of power, America has had a seat change of power. So the America under Trump today is not the same America by way, and when I say America, I mean U.S. government, is not the same America under Obama that it was under Bush, that it was under Clinton, that it was under Bush 1, and so on. Trump has radically changed the entire modus operandi of the federal government. And thus, the America of today is not the America of yesterday in terms of international relations with who our friends are and who our enemies are. As you can see, the European Union has been a big ally of America. And you see Trump posturing militarily against the European Union and them doing the same. Russia has always been an enemy of America, but now you see Trump and Putin having secret meetings and shit, and their militaries bearing the same symbolism, the Punisher logo. And both of them going after the Rothschild banking system. Putin just deported all the Rothschilds out of Russia, and Trump is about to sue their JP Morgan Chase Bank into oblivion over here. You see? So with the change of power comes the change of alliances. But in this case, the alliances are aimed against the epicenter of the deep state control, being the Zionist regime of Israel. You see, this is why you got to understand the chessboard to really understand what's going on overseas. And what just took place in Iran with the mass murder of those protesters and the Iranian security forces having to step in and stop that shit. What just took place in Iran is exactly what the deep state is trying to pull over here in America. Make no mistake about it. The same thing those sleeper cells did with having the protesters out in the street and using them as easy targets. That is exactly what the deep state is trying to do here. And that would explain the big push to get the black people out in the street. And anybody that's encouraging black people to harbor anti-ICE sentiments, they're doing you a huge disservice, because they're getting you to advocate for the very same group of people that were brought over here and basically put in front of the line in front of you. So instead of you getting your reparations, the illegals get welfare. The second thing is they want you out in the streets because they want to send out the sleeper cells to mow you down with automatic rifles and heavy machine guns, and so that they can claim that Trump is doing it. And you know what? If they were to ever so activate one of those sleeper cells, if they ever were able to get a big enough protest or enough big protest out in the streets, and they activated one of those sleeper cells, I guarantee you 1,000% that the fake news is going to put out the narrative that ICE did it or the Trump administration did it, and Trump did it, and Trump is a mass murderer, and he's a racist because he killed all the black people. Watch, you mark my fucking words. If they succeed in carrying out one of those operations, that's going to be the narrative. The exact same narrative they tried to use with the Iranians. Because it's the same Zionist forces trying to get rid of Ayatollah Khomeini, and it's the same Zionist forces here in America trying to get rid of Trump, but they're using their leftist proxies by way of the Democratic Party to get rid of Trump. And the Republicans that they have control over, they're using them to side with the Democrats to try to get rid of Trump, but they don't have enough Republicans. Because what they want is a compliant puppet government in Iran, just like they had under the Shah. And what they want here is a compliant puppet government, just like they had under Obama. So then their mass extermination agenda can continue without a hitch. But Trump just threw a monkey wrench in their whole fucking plan by daring to be popular and get elected, by daring to gain the support of the majority of the American electorate. And once he did that, he infiltrated the system at the highest level because he's the supreme commander of the U.S. military. He's the commander in chief. They answer to him and only him. And from that position of power, the whole system now is trying to collapse in on Trump to try to shut him down, because he's fighting against all the corruption from the inside. the same way Kennedy tried to do. But Kennedy was too out in the open with it, and he got himself deleted. But Trump has been doing it secretly. But this is why on the surface we've been seeing this massive hate campaign against him, because his enemies in the media that are driving this hate campaign, they know the damage and the devastation he's causing to their operations on the inside. They just don't want you to know, because they want to keep projecting it as if they're winning and Trump is losing. So they're the winning side and they're the ones that you want to side with. They're playing a real dirty game. They're trying to Baghdad Bob you, basically. And if you don't know who Baghdad Bob is the guy when the U.S. Marines made that thunder run through Baghdad, through Iraq, and basically leveled everything in their path until they got to Baghdad. And when they knocked down the Saddam statue and all that shit, they called that the Thunder Run. And during the Thunder Run, as the U.S. military was barreling towards the Royal Palace in Baghdad, one of the defense ministers for Saddam Hussein was on local television lying to the people and gaslighting them, telling them that the Iraqis have crushed the Americans and the Americans have lost and all this shit, while they're being decimated right outside the palace. And the same thing, the mainstream media is doing the exact same thing to the American people. They're trying to Baghdad Bob you. They're trying to make you believe that they're winning and they got the upper hand, when their forces that are hiding beneath the surface are being decimated. And the more of these sleeper cells that ICE gets rid of, is the more aggressive you're going to start to see Trump become against these Democrats. And the more aggressive you'll start to see Trump become against the entire establishment. Because if you think he's showing his teeth now, wait till the military deploys. Wait till the military deploys. Wait till the public mass arrests happen, because we've had several rounds of mass arrests already, but they happened in secret. In 2018 was the first round. That's when all the leadership got picked up and they got replaced with the AI avatars, the skin mask actors, and the body doubles. That's when you started seeing Obama and Hillary and Biden and all them looking different. That's when they got replaced. Then 2020 came the second round of mass arrests. That's when they started going after the propagandists in the Hollywood machine. And they started seizing all the Hollywood producers, movie studios, and production equipment. And then comes 2020, the 2021 election, when the Biden body double steals the election. Everybody that works for that administration, they get put into action. They start carrying out the agenda. Trump is mapping everything they're doing the whole time, because the military are the ones staging the whole Biden presidency, using the Hollywood producers' seized production companies. And under Executive Order 13818 is what allowed the military and the federal government to seize these properties belonging to these pedophiles. That's why the celebrities and the Hollywood producers were gone in 2020. So by 2021, when the fake Biden presidency was to kick off with the election theft, which was one big sting operation to catch everybody, including Maduro, all the pieces were in place. The fake White House sets were ready to go, and they were ready to broadcast to the American public. And I covered every anomaly of the fake Joe Biden presidency all throughout it, and you can find all those videos on Rumble. Then in comes the open borders. Now, the reason why, now one would ask, like, why would Trump allow the military, if they were running the Biden show, to open the borders and destroy the country so much? Well, it was a sting operation, so the criminals had to be allowed to operate with impunity for a time, so they all can be mapped and identified. Secondly, the sleeper cells were already here. They just didn't have enough manpower to carry out nationwide attacks simultaneously. And with opening the borders and letting all the illegals in, that was the way that they were able to transport their manpower into the country. Once the manpower comes into the country, to the general public, all we see is an influx of illegal aliens. So Trump says, well, we'll deport them all, mass deportation. Now ICE goes out there, but not only is ICE deporting the regular illegal aliens, but they're using the guise of this illegal alien deportation to also target the sleeper cells. You see, because without the mass influx of the illegal aliens, it would have been very hard for Trump to justify the use of mass federal troops across the country to go after these sleeper cells. So there had to be a surface event, and that surface event is the influx of illegals now being deported. That gave Trump the green light to put the boots on the ground. Now that the boots are on the ground and it's undeniable that the Democrats screwed America over, the boots on the ground now have more support, and the mainstream media that's trying to convince you to go against those guys now have less credibility, because no American in their right mind, whether Democrat or Republican, as long as they're in their right mind and not fully succumb to the propaganda, they know that getting rid of these foreign infiltrators out of the country is to the benefit of all Americans, whether you're Democrat, Republican, black, or white. If you are an American, it is to your benefit to have these foreign nationals removed, just for the simple fact that the resources of this country no longer have to be shared with them. You see, it was a brilliant fucking plan. And part of the reason why the sleeper cells had to be gotten rid of was because these same sleeper cells were the ones that were going to be used to lash out against the American people once Trump turned his back on Israel. This is why Trump said in the Q Clearance Patriot, measures are being taken to ensure the safety of every man, woman, and child. Why would every man, woman, and child in the country be in danger unless they were heavily armed groups of sleeper cells waiting to take to the streets and cause carnage? You see what I'm saying? And now these sleeper cells are being mopped up and shut down. And their funding is being cut off because the Doge investigations that are exposing the fraud that's funding a lot of these activities, that money is being cut off. And the top players whose job it is to relay the orders once the order is given, they're being removed. So now there's nobody there to give the order. Remember what Q said? Cut off, kill off the chain of command to prevent top-down communications. Well, the top-down communications would be the passing of the orders from the leadership down to the foot soldiers to get active. But if there's nobody at the top to pass down that order and the order never comes, the sleeper cells remain lying in wait because they never got the order. And as they lay in wait, ICE is now mapping them, tracking them, and the military will go out and apprehend them. So you neutralize your enemy before you even go get them, before you even capture them. You neutralize, then you capture. And that's what we're witnessing now is the capture operations. The next round of mass arrests since 2020 was 2022. The election fraudsters that pulled off the 2020 steal in America, they were captured. They were being interrogated. This is how word of Maduro and Venezuela's involvement came around. And the next round of mass arrests is now to come in 2026, and it will be public because this will be the final round where we'll see the true enemy be revealed and be taken down. And all these anti-Trump motherfuckers that's caping for the illegals and telling you that ICE is coming after black people and all that shit, all of them are going to be made to look stupid. They're going to be made to look stupid because all that shit they was talking about Trump, they're going to have to eat them words. They're going to have to eat all of that shit. And America will be restored back to being a constitutional republic. Income taxes will be damn near zero, if not zero. The government will be lean, mean, and running off a tariff green. Opportunities will be abundant because we'll have more manufacturing. We'll have bigger industries that are mom and pop ran. We're going to have more small businesses thriving. The blue collar industry is going to thrive with new innovations and new technology. We're going to be experimenting more with free energy. The energy companies are going to be put out of business. And before you know it, poverty and homelessness and all that shit that was happening under the deep state will be a thing of the past. And America will be a prosperous country again. But this cancer of this foreign infiltration has to be weeded out first. And every step that has been taken for the last 10 years was leading us up to this moment right here. And I'm telling y'all, before the midterms, something monumental is going to happen. If it's not going to be the great sweep that's yet to come of these crooked politicians, which I believe it's going to be, because what better campaign advertisement is there than to mass arrest all the corrupt politicians overnight? See what I'm saying? And then 2 years after the 2026 midterms is going to be reestablishing a constitutional government, and there will be continued mop-up operations of all the bad players, the bad actors that had slipped through the cracks in the last round. That's my prediction for the future, but this is my analysis of what's happening, and things are definitely heating up because we're starting to see the enemies change their tune. And when they start changing their tune, that means something big is bubbling beneath the surface, and we just can't see it. All right? So that brings us to the end of tonight's slideshow, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure you guys go subscribe to the Rumble page if you haven't already. And please don't forget to support the show by hitting the Cash App, PayPal, or the Venmo, the red X through the PayPal. It's just to remind you guys that PayPal censors comments. So just keep the comments surface level and you won't have a problem. And I'm checking the Cash Apps right now. Cash App look dry. PayPal look dry. I know it's the middle of the week. So we got 2 supporters for the night, from what I can tell. But anybody else that supports the show during the off period, shout out to you in advance, and I'll definitely shout you out on the next one. So don't feel left out, and don't hesitate, man. If you feel it in your heart to support the show, because we need that support, go ahead and, go ahead and hit that donate button. And if you feel like the content is worth a share, go ahead and share it. Don't be afraid. Just warn them that he cusses a lot. He makes a lot of jokes that seem to be lewd, and people tend to not like them. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Citizen Man Backup channel. That's right, Citizen Man Backup channel. Let me pull that up again. All right. So follow me on the Backup channel in case they zap me over here on Citizen Man TV. That way we can stay in touch and I could direct you where to go. But Rumble is definitely the place to be. And guys, don't do me like this. We've been here for 3 hours and I only got 2. I can't even get 3 supporters for the night. I only got 2. That's crazy. Y'all be doing me dirty some nights, man. I be feeling bad, man. Look at this cool ass thumbnail. That alone is worth $20. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, I appreciate you guys being here. I definitely appreciate the love and the support. Look at that handsome fella, man. That handsome fella needs some support, man. I got to support that guy, man. He's good. He got good shit, man. He's pretty damn good at what he does, and his analyses tend to be on point. You know what I mean? I'm just here to make you think and bring you. I'm not even here to make you think. I'm here to show you what the fuck's going on, because making you think just means, oh, we're just all going to speculate. No, this is not fucking speculation. These are facts. This is reading the chessboard, understanding the patterns, following the patterns into the future, and making accurate predictions. And so far, my predictions have been damn near on point every fucking time. You know what I'm saying? So you mark my words. This shit is going down. Cosmo says, nice dartboard. Who the fuck's got a dartboard? You know what? I don't even want to know. I'm just going to go ahead and block you, because you're in my comment section saying shit that don't make sense, and I'm getting the vibe that you're trying to insult me, so I'm not even going to give you the opportunity. If my thumbnail is a nice dartboard, your mama is a nice doorknob. How about that, motherfucker? Do you know who your daddy is? Or your mama been telling you it's 4 different dudes? Or you've been one of them grown-ass men going on Maury with 25 different dudes taking paternity test after paternity test because your mama lied and she don't want to show her face. You one of them? That's why you up late in my chat room talking shit, motherfucker. See, there I go cooking there I go cooking the trolls again. I can't help myself. They make it too easy. They make it too fucking easy. Nice dartboard. This fucking guy. I bet your mama would blow me though. She popped them dentures right out her mouth and get the gumming. While you sitting up in your room listening to it, throwing darts in my picture, I got my hand on the back of your mama's head, motherfucker. Don't worry, I'll be your stepdaddy for the night. I done did that stepdaddy shit before. I know how that shit goes. I can yell at you, just not too loud, and I can't whoop your ass. That's cool. That's cool. I only got to be there for about 30 minutes anyway. I got other places to be. I'm pretty sure there's 10 other guys outside your mama's apartment waiting for me to leave. So I'll be on my way. Motherfucker. I am not the one, and today is not the day. Okay? Put it to you like that. I am not the one, and today is not the day. You come to my show saying some stupid shit, I will cook you. Okay? And I'm a damn good chef, and I will cook your ass. You and your mama. But anyway, appreciate you guys being here. I appreciate the love. I appreciate the support. Thank you guys for hitting the like button. We actually broke 90 viewers on YouTube and 30 viewers on Rumble. So how about that? That's 120? We got up to 120 tonight collectively. I mean, on both channels, between Rumble and YouTube, we always break 100, but I would like to start seeing triple digits on YouTube and at least higher double digits on Rumble. So I need you guys to hit that like button as soon as you come in and share the stream if you feel so inclined. You know what I'm saying? Shit is heating up. Things are heating up. And I really need you guys to stay on top of what's happening, because the media is going to continue pushing these lies, and they're going to continue trying to fearmonger you, and they're going to use every possible asset that they have in the mainstream media and on social media to desperately and aggressively sell you the same narrative in order to make you believe it. Don't fall for it. Recognize the propaganda wherever you hear it, even if you're in a truth circle and the so-called truther starts spitting that Democrat propaganda at you. Recognize it immediately and understand what you're dealing with. What you're dealing with is a paid agent who is paid to deceive you, just like the people on TV who are paid agents paid to deceive you. They're no different. They just operate in a different arena. All right? It's just like the U.S. military, right? They got desert units, they got jungle units. The jungle units wear the green camo, the desert units wear the tan camo, but they're all part of the same fucking team anyway. So don't get confused. Don't let them fool you. Don't let them fool you. Oh, no. Yeah, I can do some Bob Marley too, man. I do some Bob Marley. I do all that shit. But anyway, again, thank you guys for the love. Thank you guys for the support. I appreciate y'all being here. And again, anybody that donates to the show after the show is over, I will shout you out on the next show. So don't feel left out and don't feel abandoned. I recognize each and every one of my donors, because we don't really have that many right now for me to get lost in the sauce. But as the numbers grow and we get more donors in, I'm just going to have to keep up with the donations. I might have to hire somebody to like monitor that shit and cue me in on whoever needs to be shouted out or whatever. But whatever the case is, I appreciate you guys being here and I appreciate the support. Can't say it enough times. And I will see you guys on the next one. Oh, before I go, tomorrow night, I'm going to be live tomorrow night. Me and B Miles are doing a collab. You know what I'm saying? So tune in for that. because we were long overdue for a collab. I kind of fell off since I went to Florida and came back trying to catch up and keep up with everything. But me and B Miles are going to be doing a collaboration show tomorrow night, discussing some of the stuff we talked about here tonight and some other things, mainly the psyop that we see the mainstream media trying to pull on the black folks with the new black panties and all these clowns, right? And Friday, of course, we're going to go back to our regular show. And sometime between then and next week, I'm going to get with Hassan Campbell and we're going to put together that one-on-one about survival and the possible threats. Because, you know, he's stressing the importance to his people of just prepping in general. But what I want to do is bring some specificity to the conversation by discussing the possible realistic threats and the best basic way to start prepping, like the baseline of what you think, what you have in mind as you start to gather and collect your supplies. Because understanding, because you don't want to prep for one thing and then something else happens, right? You don't want to prep for a nuclear bomb, but then there's mass gunmen in the streets, right? Because prepping for a nuclear bomb means, you know, radiation suits, stocking up on iodine, shit like that, and preparing for less and less people out in the world. Thus, the need for weapons and ammunition is not as much of an imperative as you would have to focus on your weapons, your ammunition, and your tactical training if we were dealing with mass shootings across the country and people were forced to defend themselves, you know, that type of shit. But there's a basic baseline for every prep. And then from that baseline, there's the specialized equipment for each scenario. So we'll be discussing all these possible scenarios and the chances of each one of these scenarios occurring. And hopefully that will give people more of an idea of where to start prepping, how to start prepping, and what they should start getting first. Because most people are on a limited budget. They can only buy their gear one item at a time, a few items at a time. They can't just go out and drop $20,000 and have, a whole bunker full of storable food and a billion rounds of ammunition and shit like that. So people need to know where to start. And they also need to understand the restrictions within their states and the risk that they're taking in purchasing certain types of equipment and how to handle that equipment and how to deal with that equipment if ever they had to use it. That's very important too. So again, thank you guys. See you guys tomorrow for the collab show. Don't miss it. And Friday for another solo show by your boy, Citizen Man. See you on the next one. Citizen Man, out.